Chapter 824. Not only was it poisonous, but it was also poisonous. There were also 7 puppets that were made by Jingbei Wang. Look, please move. The 7 puppets had just flown out of the hypertoxic galactic and were about to attack the 5. But as Jingbei Wang's head was crushed by the celestial neck spiritual circle, their speed became slower and slower, and their momentum began to disappear. Su Fong and the 4 big goblin waited. None of them dared to act rashly. They were still in attack mode, as they were worried that the 7 puppets would come for them. Whoosh! Bai Ling came to Su Fong like the first ray of light in the morning. It is not difficult to kill an immortal, but every time we use the celestial neck spiritual circle, we need a large amount of chaotic energy. We cannot use it again and again. Let's kill one of the 4 immortals first. As for the other 3, we will just hide. We can kill as many of them as we can. Thank you, Bai Ling. If it were not for Bai Ling, Su Fong could have killed Jingbei Wang as well. But in the end, he would have had to pay a great price. After a full hour, the poison finally began to move. The 7 puppets suddenly transformed into pieces of gemstones, and the immortal patterns on their bodies disappeared without a trace. The 6 of them quickly approached Jingbei Wang's body. The immortal saber in the corpse's hand was no longer in his hands, and his body did not have any momentum. It was a tragic death for an immortal to die like this. The quality of the immortal saber is not bad. Su Fong grabbed the dual sabers and looked at them with the others. Then, he put the Tao artifacts back into his body and shackled Jingbei Wang's body. We have killed another immortal. Together with the one we killed in the Beichen zone, we can cultivate for a while. Corpses were more important than Tao artifacts. At least, that was what Su Fong thought. But Tao artifacts were not simple either. They could allow the elites under Su Fong to have more Tao artifacts. We have to go back to the human imperial universe. The galaxy quieted down. Su Fong looked at the nebula in the distance. He guessed that the other 3 immortals of the Xinyuan Empire already knew about Jingbei Wang's death. They would come at any moment. Su Fongda looked at the 7 gemstones that were left behind. He used the starry daylight sword to leave 7 words on the 7 gemstones. The Lord of 5 Poisons, the Murderer. Rolling up their auras, the 6 of them first flew into the depths of the nebula, then approached the human sovereign world. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, dozens of experts finally found 7 gems. They were all a loss. After waiting for more than 10 breaths, the 2 immortals brought many experts with them and arrived on their immortal radiance. One of the immortals exuded the royal aura of the Holy Emperor's divine origin scripture. The other person's aura was ethereal, and he wore a plain robe. Judging from his attire, he should be a Doichi immortal. Clearly, this person was Xian Daotian, the Doichi expert who was killed by Su Fong back then. He was Xian Xiang's biological brother. The 2 immortals walked over. When they saw the 7 gems, the Xinyuan Empire expert was so angry that his whole body was covered in immortal light, causing the surrounding nebula to scatter. Lord of 5 Poisons, didn't you kill the Lord of 5 Poisons last time? Xian Daotian shook his head. I think he will die. Even if he doesn't die from my attack, he will be half dead. Without a few thousand years, he will not be able to recover. North King, you're a member of the Jing clan. I, Jing Suifeng, will not let your death be in vain. I will definitely turn the Lord of 5 Poisons into ashes. Immortal brother, you and I must not split up again. Since the Lord of 5 Poisons has the ability to kill immortal brother North King, we will also be a threat if we act alone in this nebula. Are we going to let the Lord of 5 Poisons go just like that? Brother North King has already determined a part of the nebula, and he can roughly estimate where the human sovereign world is. Let's go back and prepare first. Once we are ready, we will bring all the experts of the 2 worlds out. By then, the huge human sovereign world will still be able to hide in this nebula. Lord of 5 Poisons, just you wait. Back then, the supreme ancestor of my clan could kill you once. I, Jing Suifeng, can kill you again. In front of me, you are just a grasshopper. In just a few days. Continue to stay in the nebula and look for the human sovereign world in the nebula according to the coordinates. If you find it, do not alert the enemy. Xion sent more than 100 experts down, and he also took out immortal talismans and gave them to them. With the immortal talismans, the experts were relieved. After knowing that the North King was killed by the Lord of Five Poisons, could they still deal with the Lord of Five Poisons? Deeper in the nebula, a small world was being moved deeper into the nebula by the big goblin. Li Ziqing, Green Feather King, and the Lord of Five Poisons led a large number of experts and waited in the nebula above the world barrier. After a few breaths, Su Fong and the 5 experts met up. Inside the human sovereign world, Su Fong returned and immediately sensed the cultivation of tens of thousands of experts. During the time he was away, many people had broken through. Of course, the biggest change was the Lord of Five Poisons. Inside the main hall, the Lord of Five Poisons waved his hand. It's all because of the immortal power you gave me and the divine jade annulus that I was able to recover so quickly. Now, I can only suppress the ascension power. I can stay in the small world for the time being, and I have finally recovered the strength of hundreds of thousands of years ago. As long as we unite, it won't be a problem to resist the experts. Above the large number of experts, Su Fong released the 300,000 flying celestial realm experts into the heavens and earth. When the experts saw this scene, they all exclaimed in surprise. After being away for so many years, Su Fong had become a peerless alligator. With such a force under his control, everyone had a strong confidence that they could defeat the primordial god world. The experts immediately settled down the hundreds of thousands of experts, while Su Fong went to the Earth's core to check on the spiritual gourd tree. The spiritual gourd tree's fusion with the mortal emperor world's origin was quite fast. The main reason was that the spiritual gourd tree was also cultivating with the divine jade annulus, so its overall strength was also greatly improved. The divine jade annulus was a treasure that brought convenience to the cultivation of countless experts in the mortal emperor world. In the small world, only Su Fong was willing to share a doctrine artifact so that countless people could cultivate. Because of this, the mortal emperor world was constantly recovering the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. All the cultivators were increasing their strength, and the mortal emperor world was on the right track. Then, he went to check on the refining of the impotence pills. There are too many pills, so Su Fong asked the Demon King and Wan Mo to bring experts to the hundreds of thousands of experts to ensure that everyone had enough pills to cultivate. After grasping the general situation, Su Fong wanted to see Xiao Mei again, but Bai Ling went to see her first. According to Bai Ling, Xiao Mei still treated him as a stranger. Helpless, Su Fong could only see Lan Haiqing. Lan Haiqing obtained the doctrine artifact of the stone monster and used the divine jade annulus to cultivate. Now his strength was constantly increasing, and his cultivation was close to the peak of the feather transformation realm. Fortunately, Lan Haiqing had already walked out of the shadow of the shackles and recovered. Now, he only had one thought, and that was to continue to grow stronger. Su Fong also went to visit his clansmen, as well as Venerable Gu. When he saw Venerable Gu, his cultivation had also broken through repeatedly and was about the same as Su Fong's Feather Transformation Realm Level 6. How could he break through so quickly in such a short time? The last time he saw him, he had just broken through to the Feather Transformation Realm from the Grand Tribulation Realm, breaking through the shackles of thousands of years. But in such a short time, his cultivation had broken through repeatedly. It was unbelievable. It turned out that he had used the divine jade annulus to cultivate and perfected his cultivation technique. He had also obtained the resources left behind by Su Fong, allowing large numbers of goo worms to assist in the devouring power. Then, he used the goo worms to fuse with his body. The method was almost the same as Su Fong's limitless clone. How could his cultivation speed not be fast? Venerable Gu thanked Su Fong time and time again, and from then on, he called Su Fong brother. This gave Su Fong a huge advantage. He had only cultivated for a few hundred years, yet he could call Venerable Gu who had cultivated for a few thousand years, brother. But he still agreed, because Venerable Gu was a miraculous person in this world. They were both voiders, and their future was limitless. Several days later, Su Fong could calm down and begin to fuse with the human emperor world, continuing to cultivate. At the same time, he took out the corpses of two immortals. One was killed in the Beichen zone, the other was Jing Bei Huang. Su Fong planned to refine the corpse of the Beichen zone immortal, fusing the blood with the aphrodisiac pill, and give it to hundreds of thousands of experts to cultivate. As for Jing Bei Huang, he had the world essence of the primordial god world. Su Fong would first extract the world essence, then extract the immortal's essence, and give it to the experts around him to cultivate. These two immortals were killed by Bai Ling. After searching through the corpses for a while, he found two immortal jade slips. Apparently, they were a type of storage space, similar to an empty bag. However, the space was simply too shocking. After breaking the restrictive spells, Su Fong entered and was stunned. There were large amounts of immortal stones, as well as various spiritual items from the immortal world. There were also secret manuals that recorded immortal class techniques. Flipping through a few of them, he couldn't find a single one that could compare to the ethereal quintessence or the illusory fire cloud. He picked a few low-level immortal class techniques, and then had the minor cosmos immortal kettle decipher them. Wonderful! Those two immortals had 5 Dao items hidden away. Su Fong found another 5 Dao items in the jade slips. Adding in Jing Bei Huang's dual saber Dao item, he had a total of 6. Sending his will into the minor cosmos immortal kettle, he said, "Undying turtle, these dual sabers are excellent. Do you need them?" "Of course I do. Ha ha ha. They're not bad. I don't need ordinary Dao items." The undying turtle wasn't the least bit courteous. Su Fong helped the undying turtle refine the dual sabers. Before long, the undying turtle had swallowed him into its mouth. Who knew how strong the undying turtle was? At the very least, it was strong enough to attack any minor world. As for the other 5 Dao items, they were ordinary in quality, similar to the vital refining immortal beads. They weren't special. If they were, the two immortals would have long since absorbed them. Su Fong sucked out all of the spirit items from the major worlds, then used the Heaven Devil unsealing seal. He sent out hundreds of thousands of streams of will to the experts of the Mortal Emperor world, then passed on the immortal class techniques he had acquired to them. In this way, they would quickly reach new heights in terms of strength. After passing on the techniques, Su Fong began to refine the immortal Dao power of the two immortals. First, he extracted the quintessence of the world inside of them. As a result, Su Fong gained even more world power from the Mortal Emperor world and the Beichen zone. The corpses of the two immortals gradually turned into drops of blood and fused with the yang strengthening pills. During this time, Su Fong also decided how to distribute the 5 Dao items. In the end, he gave a Dao item with simple restrictions that was suitable for the heavenly gourd spirit tree. Then, Venerable Gu, First Elder He Zun, 9-headed Demon King, and Brute Force Demon King each received a Dao item. Venerable Gu was the most surprised. He was still cultivating when Su Fong suddenly gave him a Dao item to cultivate. Venerable Gu was very excited. Originally, Su Fong wanted to give it to First Elder Red Lotus and the others. After all, they had been with him for some time. But Su Fong wanted them to serve him more. He wanted them to see the benefits of serving him. Although they didn't receive a Dao item, the experts all received yang strengthening pills that contained the essence blood of immortals. This was a peerless treasure that wasn't inferior to a Dao item. Just like that, several years passed. The Lord of 5 Poisons, Li Ziqing, and Sister Yu came to the depths of the underground palace. Su Fong stopped cultivating and met with the three. He learned that Sister Yu had asked the 5 Poisons divine sex experts to gather important information from Xinyuan Empire and Doichi. Chapter 825. They found out from Sister Yu that ever since Su Fong got rid of Jingbei Emperor, the experts of Xinyuan Empire and Doichi did not come to this Nebula Star River on a large scale. Xinyuan Empire and Deutsche were still recruiting experts from the two minor worlds. Clearly, they wanted to gather their forces and slaughter their way into this Star River in the near future. This made Su Fong feel like he was sitting on pins and needles. In the short term, Mortal Emperor World would not be a threat, but once Xinyuan Empire and Deutsche were ready, they would pounce like tigers. Facing such a situation, Su Fong quickly made arrangements. He ordered Su Jinhua and the other experts to give orders to the hundreds of thousands of experts, ordering them to be ready to move at any time. Everyone had to use this time to cultivate. If the two major forces came, there was no point in hiding. The only way was to fight. Su Fong cultivated alone and pondered on how to deal with the upcoming crisis. He began to fuse the world essence he absorbed from the two immortals and the supreme world essence. The Star River in the depths of the 10 Yang veins was like a fierce beast, crazily absorbing the world essence. No matter how much there was, it was not enough for the Yang veins. In addition, after devouring immortal fruits and other resources, he continued to fuse with Mortal Emperor World. Su Fong's strength surged like a flood. After the baptism of the 6 heavenly tribulations, Su Fong took out the world fragment, Golden Lotus Stone Flower. Only then did he have time to carefully sense the treasure. Although the Golden Lotus Stone Flower did not have any obvious changes, the speed at which it released World Origin Force had slightly increased. The World Origin Force release did not only belong to Wu-Tan World, it also came from a mysterious void in the depths of the Star River. It was this World Origin Force that entered his body and was absorbed by his Golden Origin Core, Divine Aperture, and the 10 Yang veins. It was like the power of Yin and Yang, fusing the energy in his body and finally entering the depths of the 10 Yang veins and fusing with the Star River. Looks like it is not useless, but the world fragment is slowly changing. Using the heavenly tribulation is indeed effective, but I wonder how many times I need to use the heavenly tribulation before it can finally fuse. Since it is World Origin Force, I will put the world fragment into the Star River in the 10 Yang veins and let the Star River directly absorb the mysterious World Origin Force of the Golden Lotus Stone Flower. This gem was no longer placed in the Golden Core of Origin, but was instead inserted into the galaxy deep within the 10 Yang meridians. The origin power that leaked out from the Golden Lotus Stone Flower was just a tiny bit, but this insignificant amount of origin power was able to continuously strengthen the 10 Yang veins. Furthermore, the origin power also caused the fusion between Su Fong and the Mortal Emperor World to speed up. As a result, Su Fong's overall strength increased once again. About 3 years later, Su Fong, who was in the middle of cultivation, felt a movement in his body. Immediately, he released his will and looked into the depths. Immediately, he grinned from ear to ear. An 11th Yang meridian was forming beside the 10th Yang meridian. That's great. Just in time. He hurriedly activated the mini-universe Immortal Gourd and used the Immortal Qi, the power of the 9 suns, and the Qi of the Human Emperor World to attack the 11th Yang meridian. The jade-like luster wrapped around the 11th Yang meridian. The light was sometimes dazzling and sometimes dull. This was the surging of the impact. It should be the world fragment that I inserted into the galaxy within the Yang meridian. Its miraculous power is probably the key to allowing me to form the 11th Yang meridian so quickly. What a treasure, what a treasure. Although it's difficult to fuse with it, just absorbing a tiny bit of origin power can bring about such a change. With it, the speed of forming the Yang meridian will definitely reach a whole new level. In the future, whenever I undergo a tribulation, I'll have to use the heavenly tribulation to attack the Golden Lotus Stone Flower. I wonder what kind of change will come from fusing with it in the end. According to the mysterious senior, humans and all other creatures in the world cultivate with the Milky Way and the infinite universe as their goal. They want to stand at the peak of the Milky Way. Human cultivation methods are also comprehended from the Milky Way. Cultivators absorb mysterious power from the Milky Way while cultivating the world. Now, I more or less understand. This world fragment is equivalent to a mysterious power from the depths of the galaxy. The fragment and cultivation techniques complement each other. The world fragment represents the galaxy, and all human cultivation techniques are based on the galaxy. With the world fragment in my body, wouldn't it be like a fish in water? Suddenly, Su Fang's eyes were filled with a bright luster. Seeing that the 11th yang meridian had been successfully condensed and sensing the origin power released by the golden lotus stone flower, he suddenly had a feeling that the world fragment and the cultivation world were one and the same. Recalling what the mysterious woman had said, the human cultivation method came from the Milky Way, and the world fragment also came from the Milky Way. Wouldn't they complement each other and help the cultivators comprehend the profound power of the Milky Way faster? Adding on the fact that the mysterious woman had said he had to obtain the golden lotus stone flower, didn't that confirm his deduction? In less than half a year, the 11th yang meridian had settled down and fused with the previous 10 yang meridians. At the center of the yang meridian was a galaxy that looked like a meridian. Su Fang immediately used the 9 yang, 9 transformations. He hadn't expected the 9 yang energy to circulate so quickly in his body. This was the effect of having an additional yang meridian on Su Fang. This allowed Su Fang's cultivation speed to reach a new height. It just so happened that Sister Yu came back with another piece of information. Su Fang hurried to meet with the other great lords. In the main hall, Li Ziqing, Green Feather Monarch, the Lord of 5 Poisons, Su Jinhua, and the others all had solemn expressions. They were listening to Sister Yu talk about the Xinyuan Empire situation. She said, "These 3 immortals, Exine Dao Tian has returned to the Doichi not long ago. The Xinyuan Empire only has 2 immortals left. One is Jing Suifeng, and the other is a mysterious immortal whose true background is unknown, but he should be from a great world. The Xinyuan Empire has already gathered 1 million troops and recruited nearly 1 million cultivators. They're still gathering troops to plan a war against the human emperor world. And news from the immortal primordial domain. After Exine Dao Tian returned, he cooperated with the immortal primordial domain's realm lord to recruit a large number of experts. He also formed an alliance with the immortal primordial domain. Now, there are many immortal primordial domain forces cooperating with the Doichi. More and more people are coming to recruit them. It's estimated that in less than 20 years, the 2 major forces will send troops to us. They'll bring millions of soldiers and kill their way into this star field. Once they send troops, millions of cultivators will be enough to make it impossible for us to hide in this star field. A final battle will be inevitable." In front of all the experts, Sister Yu explained the information she had gathered and the situation clearly. This information was like a fishbone stuck in the throats of all the experts present. Millions of cultivators. Everyone's expression turned serious. So what if they have a lot of people? Those people are just relying on their power. Even the primordial god world and the immortal primordial domain are relying on their power. Even the Lord of 5 Poisons could not recover from his shock. However, Su Fang was calmer than anyone else. Since all of this is because of the 3 immortals, then our ultimate enemy is the 3 immortals. Once we kill the 3 immortals, the millions of soldiers won't be much of a threat. You have an idea? Li Ziqing immediately looked at Su Fang. In front of everyone, Su Fang nodded. "Let's do it the same way. Since we know who our enemy is, then let's deal with the problem. We can't wait for the primordial god world and the immortal primordial domain to attack first. We have to strike first to gain the upper hand. The enemy was strong, and they were weak. The weak had to strike first to gain the upper hand." While everyone was still confused, Su Fang said, "We will deal with the 3 immortals first. The Jingbei Emperor has already been killed. In fact, it has already affected the 2 lesser realms. We just have to kill 1 more immortal, and then we can fight the remaining 2 immortals under any circumstances." The Lord of 5 Poisons pounded his fists. "Kid, who are you trying to kill? Of course it's Exine Dao Tian. This person has ascended for 10,000 years, but that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that this person is separated from the other 2 immortals. He is alone in the immortal primordial domain. The opportunity we are waiting for is for the immortals to separate. We can kill them one by one. The Jingbei Emperor is the best example. Isn't Xian Daotian in the immortal primordial domain? And with the influence of the Realm Lord and Doi Chi, he is openly recruiting experts. Isn't this simple? I will bring a group of experts into the immortal primordial domain, disguised as experts, and join the recruitment army. Then, we will find a chance to kill Xian Daotian. No matter how talented this person is, his strength is about the same as the Jingbei Emperor in the Lesser Realms. And the moment we deal with Xian Daotian, we also need to send people to attack the Xinyuan Empire's army outside the nebula. We will restrict the two immortals and prevent them from going to the immortal primordial domain to help Xian Daotian. This will allow us to kill this person without fear. After explaining his idea, Su Fong looked at the other old antiques. Seniors, what do you think? Strike first to gain the upper hand. Indeed, we have no other choice. If we really wait for the two great powers to gather their armies and come here under the lead of the three immortals, we will be in a passive position. At that time, we will have no other choice. Kid, we have no objections. We just want to see how you allocate the manpower. Li Zuqing, Green Feather Monarch, and the Lord of Five Poisons all nodded in agreement. Junior feels that if we attack the Xinyuan Empire, we should naturally let seniors take action. We can also use the Five Poisons Divine Sect to interfere and threaten the enemy. Moreover, we understand this nebula. They're in the open, while we are in the dark. If we go to the immortal primordial domain, Junior will bring Sister Bai and the Big Goblin. Su Jinhua, you and the other experts will stay here and do your best to help the Sectmaster deal a heavy blow to the Xinyuan Empire. Subordinate understands. Su Jinhua bowed. Green Feather Monarch said worriedly, "Be careful this time. Before you act, you must send a thought. If we act together, the two immortals will not be able to rush to the immortal primordial domain. However, you still have to be careful. Senior, don't worry. I have too many Big Goblin in my hands, and they can all use Dao artifacts. I am not afraid of immortals." The few of them gathered for a while to discuss the details. Not long after, a man and a woman silently left the human emperor world and entered the nebula. After a while, Su Fong and Bai Ling had already passed by the primordial god world. In front of them was another place where cultivation flourished, the immortal primordial domain. Half a month later, the two of them arrived outside the immortal primordial domain. Bai Ling said protectively, "Brother, you still have to give me 10 years. During this time, I can use the Heavenly Neck Spirit Collar again." The Heavenly Neck Spirit Collar is our trump card. All right, I will use these 10 years to sneak in and get close to Doi Chi, Xian Daotian, and the Realm Lord. I will enter their core. After talking for a while, Bai Ling entered the light of Su Fong's Dao artifact. He entered the space of the mini-universe Immortal Gourd and began to recuperate. Su Fong used the Heavenly Demon Book, and his entire body was filled with demonic aura. It covered his 11 yang meridians, and even his golden core origin was filled with demonic aura. In order to hide more realistically, he activated the True Demon Blood Plate, allowing the Blood Ghost True Demon to enter his golden core origin and release a special demonic poison aura. Now, the Blood Ghost True Demon strength had reached the pinnacle of the flying immortal realm. With such a demonic expert releasing its aura, Su Fong was perfectly disguised as a demonic expert. Soon, they successfully entered the immortal primordial domain and arrived at the outskirts of the Doichi domain. Chapter 826. Su Fong was dressed in a black robe and had wrapped his head with a black cloth, revealing a few long strands of hair. His eyes were slowly emitting demonic aura. His demonic aura, which had reached the flying celestial realm, was clearly revealed. Anyone who saw this demonic aura would know that he was a demonic expert. He used his full circle ability to cover a large number of cities outside Doichi's control and quickly collected information that was useful to him. Whoosh, he flew straight to Doichi. When he saw the Doichi dojo's barrier in the distance, Su Fong flew toward a huge city on his right. Although it was a city, Its aura and overall defense revealed the profound aura of the limitless Tao technique. Obviously, this city was directly controlled by Doichi. Where did this demonic cultivator come from? As soon as he arrived above the city, a large number of experts flew over from the city's barrier. They were all Doichi's disciples, and most of them were flying celestial realm powerhouses. When they saw Su Fong, who had transformed into a middle-aged demonic cultivator, and his eyes and aura were full of demonic aura, they were really surprised. This was a powerhouse. Su Fong stood with his hands behind his back. His usual appearance was gone, and a murderous aura arose spontaneously. I'm an itinerant cultivator from the distant immortal melody world. I'm called the carefree true demon. Recently, I've been training in the nearby star domain. I heard that a celestial in Doichi is recruiting powerhouses, so I came to take a look. So that's why Brother Demon is here. Please, please. When a few Doichi powerhouses heard Su Fong's intentions, their hostility immediately disappeared. They warmly welcomed Su Fong and led him into the city. A group of people flew from mid-air to a palace in the center of the city. A large number of cultivators had gathered outside the palace. These people all wanted to work for Doichi. Who is that? No matter who it is, he's a demonic expert. He's strong, and it's obvious that he's a powerhouse of the demonic path. Doichi naturally has to treat such a powerhouse with special respect. Don't be envious. With that kind of strength, you don't have to wait here to be summoned one by one. A large number of cultivators outside the palace watched enviously as Su Fong was welcomed by the powerhouses. He directly came to the palace's main entrance and strode into the palace. Many people were envious of him. These words were naturally heard by Su Fong. Without batting an eyelid, he took majestic steps and followed the master into the imperial palace. There's no immortal aura. It seems like Xian Dao Tian isn't in this city. He secretly released his senses and grasped everything in this city. When they arrived at a large hall in the depths of the city, they saw many Doichi experts. Most of them were not Doichi experts. Although these people were not Doichi's disciples, their auras carried the limitless Tao arts. It seemed like they obeyed Doichi's orders in regarding this city. When Su Fong entered the main hall, he saw dozens of masters sitting on both sides of the hall. They were dressed differently, and none of them were Doichi masters. However, they were all existences who had reached the flying celestial realm with 3 heavenly tribulations. Obviously, these people were all peerless experts who had been recruited. There was no lack of big goblin among them, as well as a few big fiends. 2 masters were sitting at the front. One of them was an elder with a Tao feather at his waist. The other person was not dressed in Doichi attire, but he still emitted the aura of the limitless Tao arts. This master raised his voice and said, "I'm the city lord of this city. Beside me is Doichi's great elder, Ju Daozi. We all call him Elder Ju." Su Fong was neither servile nor overbearing. He cupped his fists and said, "I'm the free and unfettered true demon from the immortal melody world. I'm a fiend Dao, itinerant cultivator who travels everywhere. I know how strong Doichi is, so I came here hoping to become a part of everyone." Suddenly, a demon on the left said disdainfully, "Humph, it's not easy to join the Immortals recruitment. I'm also a fiend Dao expert, but my cultivation has reached the flying celestial realm with 3 heavenly tribulations. You're the free and unfettered true demon? How much cultivation do you have?" Another master sneered. "That's right. If you want to stay here, it depends on your cultivation and ability. Not everyone can come here. I'm not raising useless people." Huh. The peerless experts were all watching the show. How could Su Fong not understand these people's thoughts? They looked very leisurely, but in fact they were all driven by benefits. For benefits, they wanted to trample on each other. In front of the city lord, Su Fong said to the great elder, Ju Daozi, "Whether I have the ability or not is naturally not based on empty words. If the Doichi has any tests, feel free to use them. True demon, don't mind it. There are rules. This time, we recruited everyone to deal with a very difficult enemy." The great elder, Ju Daozi, swept his gaze across the crowd. Everyone quieted down, nodded, and said, "Set up the array immediately." true demon, there will be 3 layers of array formations. If you break one layer, you will pass the test and become one of us. What if I break all of them? Huh? Do you think the Deutsche array formation is easy to break? Before Judaozi could answer, many experts on the left and right laughed. Since that was the case, Su Fong also chose to remain silent. At this time, 3 Deutsche disciples came to his side. Each of them took out a rune talisman. In an instant, the 3 arrays merged with the rune talisman, enveloping Su Fong. In the main hall, the 3 layers of array formations seemed to be only 10 meters wide and 15 meters tall. However, to Su Fong, who was inside, it was a huge array formation space. This was the power of the array formations. Above the main hall, the city lord asked, "Elder, do you think this true demon unfettered can break the first layer of array formations? Each of them has the power of 2 calamities." Zhu Daozi stroked his beard. "I can't say for sure. You also know that there are too many differences between cultivators of the devil Dao and those of the righteous Dao. They often have unimaginable evil power." The city lord looked forward to it. "I hope it's an expert and not a paper tiger." Some of the experts on the 2 sides below also stood up. They were either waiting for Su Fong to break the array formation or waiting for Su Fong to be rejected by the Deutsche. Poison smoke burn. Su Fong, who was trapped inside, spread his hands. Shocking devil runes surged out from his arms. These devil runes actually came from the Blood Wraith, true demon. He was just borrowing the Blood Wraith true demon's power. In an instant, the devil runes surged out a shocking blood-colored poison gas. The poison gas was not ordinary. It contained the Blood Wraith's own poison, as well as the immortal insect's poison. Of course, in the Blood Wraith's later cultivation, he had also fused a lot of poisons. This was a unique poison. See the devil flames burned. When they touched the first layer of array formations, the array formations began to shake. Then, many of the array formations began to peel off, burn, and turn to dust. Oh! All the experts in the main hall stood up and looked at the shocking poison flames burning inside. Sky Devil Fist. After burning for a while, Su Fong spread his arms. Along with the sharp devil light in his eyes, he pushed his strength to the limit, reaching the power of 3 calamities. Bang! A devil fist wrapped in poison flames suddenly rose. When the devil flames burned the first layer of the array formation, the devil fist struck the second layer of the array formation. First, there was a deafening impact. Then, there was a violent shattering. The second layer of the array formation was shattered, and Su Fong's devil fist and poison flames struck the third layer of the array formation. Powerful! Finally, many experts changed their opinion of Su Fong. Boom! In an instant, a huge force that no one had expected not only shattered the third layer of the array formation, but also the shocking demonic aura that shattered the entire array formation. Then, it violently rushed into the main hall above. The moment the array formation shattered, many of the surrounding experts were shaken away. The demonic aura that had struck the top of the main hall also took the opportunity to create a big hole. The demonic aura rose into the sky and rushed 10,000 meters into the sky above the city. It's going to collapse. Another earthquake occurred in the main hall. The ground, walls, and pillars began to crack and collapse. Hundreds of peerless experts hurriedly rushed out. As a result, this palace was like a jar. Under the gazes of many experts, it instantly collapsed. The dust and the demonic aura that had rushed into the sky were swept away. A large number of experts floated in the air, looking at the collapsed and flattened main hall in shock. Su Fong, who had transformed into the unfettered true devil, was still standing there, like a giant made of intertwined demonic runes. Good, the true devil is indeed strong. From now on, you can cultivate here in peace. This empty bag contains a nearly peak royal-grade magic artifact, hundreds of millions of top-grade pure origin pills, as well as top-grade spirit stones and other resources. Zhu Daozi praised Su Fong from the sky. In front of everyone, he threw an empty bag to Su Fong. He even let the city lord personally take care of Su Fang's future. It could be said that he had received the highest treatment. This also made those experts speechless. What he wanted was to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. He wanted to be valued by Doi Chi and attract the attention of the Dao heavens. Under the city lord's personal arrangements, Su Fang entered the palace to rest. Then, a large number of experts came to greet Su Fang and try to get close to him. At this time, he roughly knew that Doi Chi had recruited tens of thousands of flying celestial realm cultivators. As for feather transformation realm cultivators, there were even more, almost 100,000 of them. Su Fang and many other experts also walked around enthusiastically. After resting for a few months, Zhu Daozi came to the city to summon Su Fang. When Su Fang arrived, he saw several particularly powerful experts. Zhu Daozi was straightforward. When they sat down, he said, "Your strength is unquestionable. In the future, do your jobs well. Doi Chi and the Celestial Realm will not miss out on your benefits." Recently, more and more cultivators have been recruited. The city lord can't handle it. You few will help the city lord and assess the cultivators who come. Of course, you will only assess cultivators whose cultivation has reached the flying celestial realm. So that's how it is. It seemed that he had been secretly valued by Doi Chi. He was secretly happy and left with the other experts. Under the city lord arrangement, Su Fang began to assess the experts in a palace. Needless to say, they were all flying celestial realm cultivators. If this was the mortal emperor world, and there were so many people recruited, he would not have to be in a tense state all the time. A few months passed. A few Doi Chi experts took out a jade scroll and came to Su Fang politely. "My lord, this is the new batch of cultivators who will be assessed by you. There are a total of 20 of them, and their cultivation levels range from 1 flying celestial realm to 2 flying celestial realm." He took a look. Recently, he had been completely used to helping Doi Chi select experts. However, just as he put down the jade scroll, he suddenly grabbed it in his hand. There was a name on it that suddenly attracted Su Fang's attention. His heart was deeply pierced by the name, Guardian Dragon Turtle. In the row of names, the words Guardian Dragon Turtle attracted Su Fang's attention. Guardian Dragon Turtle is obviously a dragon turtle, a demonic turtle. Dragon Turtle. Back when I was crossing the Fishbeak River, I was tricked by a dragon turtle spirit. The memory is still fresh. I did not expect to meet another dragon turtle spirit in this faraway, immortal primordial realm. However, this demonic turtle is at 1 flying celestial realm. His cultivation level is probably between 2 and 3 flying celestial realm. He looked calm and collected, but he was smiling proudly in his heart. The one who was smiling proudly was naturally the undying turtle in the small heaven and earth immortal pot. His consciousness appeared in front of the undying turtle. "Undying turtle, since a demonic turtle is here, I will not be polite. This guardian dragon turtle has already cultivated a human body. He must have mastered the cultivation techniques of the turtle race. Hurry up, hurry up." The undying turtle could not wait any longer. Chapter 827. The undying turtle had been around for hundreds of thousands of years. In terms of lifespan, its lifespan was eternal. He wanted to change his physical body and become a big goblin that could cultivate and step into a higher realm. Su Fang ordered his subordinates to let the dragon turtle Dharmaraja into the main hall first. Su Fang was the only one in the main hall. He had already used his supreme mystiques, especially the heavenly demon disintegration seal. He used his supreme primordial spirit to control everything. Doi Chi's disciple led a burly cultivator over. The cultivator was wearing a dark green robe. Although he looked human, his eyes and eyebrows had detailed totems. If one's senses were extraordinary, they would be able to sense traces of demonic aura from the totems. He probably had a body full of godly strength. Because every step he took was one with his breath, it was as if he could tear everything apart. This person came to the center and bowed to the unfettered true demon that Su Fang had transformed into. "I'm the dragon turtle Dharmaraja. I've been cultivating in the East Sea Spirit Continent in the immortal primordial realm for hundreds of thousands of years. I've finally gained some magical power. I've heard of Doi Chi and hope to serve Doi Chi. Su Fong sized the dragon turtle Dharmaraja up. Your strength is not bad. Why aren't you famous in the immortal primordial realm? I've been cultivating in the East Sea Spirit Continent. My turtle tribe's cultivation speed is slow. It wasn't easy for me to break through the shackles of my physical body. Without the ability to break out of my shell, I could only stay underwater. Otherwise, I would have been suppressed by the big goblin. What a coincidence! Although I'm a demonic cultivator, I have some understanding of the turtle tribe. I've heard that the turtle tribe's cultivation is indeed more difficult than the other big goblins. The turtle tribe's cultivation technique is especially rare. Since you want to serve Doi Chi, you have to show that your cultivation technique is extraordinary. My cultivation technique was passed down from generation to generation by my ancestors. However, even with this cultivation technique, it will still take around 100,000 years for the cultivators of my dragon turtle race to shed their turtle shells and take human form. My lord, please take a look. On the other hand, Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle was working for the immortals. After he finished speaking, he abruptly activated his inner breath. All the muscles in his body tightened, and many spiritual tattoos appeared on his body. A surge of spiritual energy, transformed into earth energy, enveloped his body. When he opened his mouth, a shocking amount of spiritual energy and demonic aura intertwined. He felt that if he opened his mouth, he would be able to unleash an unparalleled force. Su Fong watched the entire process unfold. He noticed that as Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle breathed, all of his power surged into his dantian and heart. Finally, his aura became a boiling furnace of energy, and then his true energy and divine ability erupted. Shakyamuni Longue retracted his aura. What do you think, sir? Su Fong slowly condensed his chi. I have to set up a barrier for you to attack. If you can break the barrier, you will pass the test and become one of us. I'll just wait. Wait. Inwardly, Su Fong revealed a cold smile. Of course, he could not be discovered by Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle. After the other party was ready, Su Fong secretly sealed the entire hall. Then, a barrier began to appear around Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle, gradually enveloping him. The laughable Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle really thought that Su Fong was testing him. Little did he know that the murderous intent was about to devour him. Inside the small heaven and earth divine pot, the undying turtle saw all of this. This stupid donkey is too stupid. I'll suppress him and make him my follower. Demonic voice. Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle, who was enveloped by the barrier, was suddenly waiting for Su Fong to give the order to attack the barrier. Unexpectedly, waves of demonic chi, sound waves, surged into his mind from the barrier. Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle felt that the world suddenly became dark. All he could see was demonic chi, and his mind was also filled with a shocking amount of demonic chi. Sizzle, in the next second, before Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle could react, he stood there like a piece of wood. The demonic voice swallowed his divine aperture, broke through the barrier, and immediately surged into his divine aperture. The insignificant young, nascent soul hidden in the depths of his divine aperture trembled as it saw the demonic chi surging around it. Immediately, it transformed into Su Fong. Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle said in shock, "My lord, you are," Su Fong said in a majestic voice. "Your divine aperture has already been broken by my supreme primordial spirit and suppressed. I can kill you instantly. Oh, I forgot to tell you, this is not a test. You are the one who has fallen into my hands. I, Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle, came here to serve the deities. Why are you attacking this king?" Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle could not believe it. "Then let me make it clear to you. I, carefree true devil, do not sincerely want to serve the deities. I have my own goals. Attacking you has nothing to do with the deities or Doi Chi. I only want you to submit to me from now on." "Submit to you? You are a loose cultivator, and your strength is indeed greater than mine. However, this king will soon surpass you. Why do you have to make this king bow his head to you? Since you are not willing, then I will use my supreme primordial spirit to torture you. This is Deutsch's territory. Haha, Deutsch's territory? Are you saying that I did not keep my word? Now that Deutsche has entrusted me with an important task, I have the power to punish you. Furthermore, I can casually find an excuse to kill you. You are just an unknown big goblin. If I kill you, then so be it. Do you think Deutsche will break off relations with an expert like me for you? This caused Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle to be speechless. His dry and straight eyes were filled with anger and resentment. However, he could not do anything about it. The demonic voice in the surroundings began to transform into waves. Under the control of the primordial spirit, it formed a ferocious aura. It also ignited the primordial spirit's flames, wanting to attack his young, nascent soul. After a few dozen breaths, Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle knelt down. I submit. I submit. Su Fong was slightly relieved. He immediately released a seal and sent it into Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle's body, as well as the young infant in his divine aperture. That's right. Now, I will plant a seal in your young infant. In the future, you'll do whatever I say. I will not make things difficult for you. Whoosh, the infernal miasma disappeared from a seal. Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle recovered and looked around. At this moment, the seal disappeared as well. He stood in the hall and looked around unwillingly. He was probably feeling frustrated. Could it be that he had entered the wrong door? In just a short moment, a big goblin like him had fallen into someone else's control. You have passed. Wait on the side. Su Fong nodded to Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle. Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle still did not understand what was going on. He obediently went to the side and watched as Su Fong received the next expert. Indeed, he had to use a seal to test the cultivators. A few days later, Su Fong finished testing this batch of people. Half of them stayed behind, and Su Fong also had some time to rest. On this day, Su Fong and Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle left the city and flew in the sky leisurely. From time to time, they would look at the Deutsche Dojo. Whoosh, when Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle flew in the sky with Su Fong. He did not know why, but his vision turned black again. In the blink of an eye, he found himself floating in a Tao artifact space that was filled with immortal chi. Before it could recover from its shock, it saw an incomparably huge tortoise glaring at it from within the immortal cloud. Such a gigantic turtle made Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle's body go soft. He staggered and almost fell. Su Fong's mind flashed, and he introduced it to Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle. This is the heavenly horned giant striped turtle, also known as the immortal turtle. I guess you can also see how powerful it is. The only regret is that it lacks the Turtle Clan's techniques. This is why I suppressed you. Now, I will tell you all your techniques. Once the immortal turtle transforms into a human form, I will give you the immortal's blood and immortal chi. In the future, I will also give you a Tao artifact. After Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle heard this, he felt a chill. Heavenly Horned Giant Striped Turtle. Is this the legendary Heavenly Horned Giant Striped Turtle that has lived for countless years in the immortal melody world? It seems like there are still people who know of my existence. The immortal turtle in the depths smiled. Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle hurriedly replied, of course, I know. Among the demon clan, some special big goblin will always spread. I am from the Dragon Turtle clan, and there are very few of us in the immortal primordial realm. There are only a few of us, and we pay a lot of attention to the big goblin of the Turtle clan in the other small realms. I once met a big goblin from the spiritual dust world, and he mentioned your existence. This guy was born to be a bootlicker. Su Fongda's jaw dropped. This guy was born to be a bootlicker. Senior, you must be lacking in techniques. In that case, I will give you the minor heavenly cycle inner breath universal technique of the Dragon Turtle clan, which was passed down by our ancestors. Minor heavenly cycle inner breath universal technique. Yes. This is a technique passed down by my Dragon Turtle clan. Good. If it is of help to me, I will reward you greatly in the future. Let's do as Su Fong said. You can have whatever you want in the future. What future do you have if you follow the Doi Chi in Immortals? The resources that Immortals have, Su Fong has them too. Just a while ago, he gave 5 Dao treasures to the experts under him for cultivation. Yes, I will listen to you. I will release the minor heavenly cycle inner breath universal technique of the minor heavenly cycle inner breath universal technique. Dharmaraja dragon turtle immediately formed a seal. Dao runes containing spiritual chi and demonic aura surged out from his eyes as he chanted. The immortal turtle opened its mouth and inhaled. It could not wait to fuse with the runes. Seeing this, Su Fong retracted his consciousness. He went to a primitive forest and sat down cross-legged, waiting for news from the minor heaven and earth immortal gourd. One can wear out iron shoes in fruitless search, only to find it by chance. This was referring to Su Fong and the immortal turtle. All these years, he had been searching for a solution. First, he used the divine image jade annulus. Then, he looked for martial arts manuals everywhere. In the end, he found nothing. Even Li Haojie did not have any shifter martial arts manuals. But he came to the immortal primordial realm to deal with Xian Daotian. Unexpectedly, he met Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle, who solved this difficult problem. Pung. A few months later, Su Fong, who was sitting cross-legged, was trying to break through to the 7th tier of the immortal realm. He thought that it was the tribulation aura that would explode in his body. But it was not. Instead, it was the aura of a Dao artifact. He immediately released the Xianguang, a Dao artifact. Dharmaraja Dragon Turtle was shocked. Su Fong released his consciousness into the space of the Dao artifact. He was also shocked by what he saw. The physical body of the immortal turtle was burning bit by bit. It was vibrating bit by bit and shrinking bit by bit. During this process, a large amount of impurities came out from its body and piled up into hills around it. Dematerialization. So this was the most important process for the shifter's cultivation. From a shifter's body to a human form. This was also known as spiritualization. After spiritualization, the big goblin could control its physical body at will. While it was still an illusion, the immortal turtle's body suddenly released a shifter chi. It was as if it had evaporated. In the end, a naked man moved his hands and legs excitedly. Haha, 1,000,000 years of cultivation, 1,000,000 years of shackles. Today I, the immortal turtle, have finally dematerialized and freed myself from the shackles of my physical body. The man was the immortal turtle after dematerializing. Was this the immortal turtle? He was just a normal human cultivator. He did not have a violent shifter chi, but his movements were like a baby who had just learned to walk. The immortal turtle was so scared that it squatted down and walked forward step by step. It's done. Su Fong was even more excited than the immortal turtle. How could he not be? At the critical moment of dealing with the Xinyuan Empire and killing Xian Daotian, they were lacking in powerful fighters. The immortal turtle had turned into a human form at this time. Its strength had increased by many folds. Chapter 828. In the sky where the undying tortoise was, all the demonic aura and spiritual energy disappeared. The naked tortoise was extremely proud. This body is called a body. I'm also born handsome and elegant. Su Fong stared blankly at the undying tortoise that had transformed into a human. He was not used to it. A white figure immediately appeared beside him. It was Bai Ling, the crane fairy. She pouted at the undying tortoise. You are a pervert who shows off. You call me a pervert? An evil aura exploded from the undying tortoise. You are not like this when you transformed into a human. Your hair was not even fully grown. Pervert. You did not believe me when I said you were a pervert. If you continue to spout nonsense, I will break your tortoise legs. You call yourself the Chaos Fairy. Such an existence like me also needs a domineering name. All right, I will call myself the Undying Heavenly Venerable. Don't call me the Undying Tortoise in the future. Master Tortoise or Undying Heavenly Venerable. This name is good. Look at your Ensei. Find some clothes to wear first. Ensei. I am happy. I am proud. We demons and spirit clans are not like humans. Shedding our shells and transforming is a natural evolution. We cannot tolerate those evil thoughts. After bickering with Crane Fairy, the undying tortoise also began to condense Jinshi patterns and put on its first clothes. The undying tortoise that had lived for nearly 1,000,000 years now looked only 15 or 16 years old. When Su Fong saw it, he was shocked. Bai Ling also looked like this when she transformed into a human. However, the undying tortoise had lived for a long time. Why did it also look like this after transforming? Perhaps it was because the demon body was very different from the human body. The undying tortoise still needed some time to cultivate. Su Fong absorbed the small heaven and earth fairy pot and put Bai Ling in together. They would go back first. After returning to the city with the Dragon Turtle Master, Su Fong ordered him to stay calm and blend in with the other masters, waiting for orders at all times. Su Fong began to cultivate in seclusion. He was trying to break through to the peak of Immortal Realm Level 6 and the 12th Yang Meridian. He separated his consciousness and entered the small heaven and earth fairy pot. When he saw the undying tortoise again, it had already put on its clothes and a blood-red cloak. It was sitting cross-legged in the sky above many big goblin and cultivating by itself. Below him were big goblin such as Tongtian Monster Venerable, Zhu Huang, 9-section Earth Dragon, Woolen Goblin, 9-headed Goblin King, and so on. Other than the Zhu Emperor and Bai Ling, who was cultivating on the other side, which big goblin was filled with dread towards the undying tortoise. Arriving beside the undying turtle, Su Fong asked curiously, Dharma King Long Gui's minor cycle of inner breath Qingquan great technique is so powerful that it allowed you to shed your shell and transform into a human form in just a few months, breaking through the shackles of nearly 1,000,000 years. The young undying tortoise's appearance was not only young, but also handsome. It was quite proud of itself, as it said, "Thank you for using the heavenly tribulations to cleanse my marrows. Moreover, I've been shackled for a long time, and I've already reached the transformation realm. My cultivation and strength have already surpassed the fairy realm. As long as my marrows are cleansed, I'll be able to obtain a cultivation technique, and I'll be able to ascend. If you can ascend without tribulation, wouldn't that mean you have the same cultivation base as the Lord of the Five Poisons? Don't compare me to the Lord of the Five Poisons. He might be a junior, but it wasn't easy for him to cultivate for hundreds of thousands of years. I've lived for countless years, and have long since been cleansed by the terrifying power of heaven and earth. Then you used the heavenly tribulation on my fleshly body, so I don't need to transcend tribulation. I'm a goblin who has absorbed the quintessence of heaven and earth, the sun and the moon. Ha ha ha. I'm not a demon, nor am I a spirit beast. I'm not a goblin. Unfortunately, I can't ascend right away. I still need to learn a lot of techniques. The minor cycle of inner breath, Qingquan great technique, only focuses on energy arts, and I don't know anything about other divine abilities. I'll have to start from the basics of human cultivation. Just now, I've mastered energy condensation, talisman drawing, and other techniques. In that case, I'll give you the limitless Taoist technique, the Sage Emperor's God Origin Scripture, and a few other immortal class energy arts, as well as some of my cultivation experiences. You're really my lucky star, kid. You'll have to help me fuse perfectly with the Tao items. By the time I master the divine abilities and Tao items, I'll be stronger than any realm lord in this small world. I'll be on the same level as the immortals, and the immortals won't be much stronger than me in terms of fighting prowess. Hearing this, Su Fong hurriedly turned a lot of techniques into runes. Then, he fused them with his knowledge of controlling magical treasures and various divine abilities. After the undying tortoise absorbed them, it began to fuse with the dual saber Tao item. 10 years. Sister Bai needs to wait 10 years to activate the heavenly neck spirit ring again. Now that 5 years have passed, I have to break through to the 7th tier of immortal transformation in the next 5 years. During these 5 years, the undying tortoise and the big goblin's strength will increase again. The will disappeared. He returned to his true self. Within the enchantment, Su Fong began to cut his body with countless wounds, twice as many as before. He first planted the immortal fruit slices into the wounds. Then, he took out an immortal pill. It was an immortal pill. He got it from the Jingbei Emperor and the immortal from the Beichin Zone. The two immortals had hundreds of immortal pills. Originally, he didn't want to get immortal pills. However, now that he thought about it, all the resources from the small world wouldn't be of much help to him. Other than origin energy stones and origin soul essences, pure energy pills, demon core flowers, and undying flowers wouldn't be of much use. What he desired the most was the power from the large world, especially the immortal corpses. Then, he wanted all kinds of resources from the large world. He couldn't refine most of the resources from the large world, but he still had ways to consume some ordinary immortal pills from the large world. Suddenly, the undying tortoise's greedy voice sounded in his mind. "Kid, you have such a good treasure. Why don't you give it to me? This is an immortal pill. I'm afraid you'll die from overeating. Give it to me if I die from overeating." This guy still doesn't know that I'm mocking him. He actually asked for an immortal pill. Su Fong had only seen immortal pills a few times. If he hadn't obtained the two immortal corpses, he wouldn't have seen such a treasure in the small world. He had no choice but to give the immortal pill he had picked out from the hundreds of immortal pills he had and give it to the undying tortoise. This immortal pill felt similar to a Tao item. It should be a very ordinary item in a large world and could be absorbed by the cultivators of the small world. Su Fong took out another immortal pill. He thought about the other big goblin, especially Bai Ling and the Vermilion Emperor. The Vermilion Emperor was an ancient big goblin. He would definitely be able to withstand the immortal pill's power. As for Bai Ling, he was now stronger than him and could also devour it. He used the Starry Daylight sword to cut the immortal pill into 3 parts. He gave the first 2 parts to Bai Ling and the Vermilion Emperor. He opened a wound on his chest and inserted the 3rd immortal pill. The wound was right in front of his heart. Under the power of a grand perfection immortal pill, the wound quickly healed. A cold immortal pill's aura slowly melted. In order to speed up the process and absorb the immortal pill's power, Su Fong started to use the power of the 9 suns to attack his body again and again. He also started to absorb the essence of the immortal primordial world from the ground. He even absorbed the essence of the Doichi's dojo without restraint. He had cultivated the limitless Tao technique. He could steal the essence of the dojo without anyone noticing. Just as he was about to reach Immortal Realm Level 6 Pinnacle, the city master sent an order to invite the thousands of powerful cultivators he had recruited to enter Doichi. It turned out that the great elder of Doichi, Zhu Daozi, was representing the Doichi to invite the powerful cultivators to visit the dojo. The supreme leader of Doichi would also appear. Although Su Fong had never seen this sect leader before, he had heard of him countless times. Limitless. This was a peerless leader who had cultivated for tens of thousands of years. He should have been a cultivator from the same era as the Jingbei Emperor. He had not ascended for tens of thousands of years. It was not that his talent or strength was not good enough. Instead, this person was wholeheartedly guarding Doichi. He wanted to turn this force into an unshakable force in the immortal primordial world. Doichi was very special. Every generation's leader was limitless. Hence, the name of the leader, Limitless, was known by the Wu-Tan realm, Lingming realm, Beichin Zone, Chilean planet, and even the Wu-Tan realm. At night, thousands of powerful cultivators followed the city master and many Doichi disciples into Doichi. The great elder, Zhu Daozi, personally came to welcome them. The group of people, led by many Doichi disciples, entered the dojo of the immortal primordial world's #1 force. Su Fong had been silent the whole time. He secretly sensed all the auras of the Doichi. Suddenly, he felt an immortal's aura slowly being released from the depths of the dojo. Obviously, this was the immortal's heart Tao technique. Everyone came to a large hall built in a square. After a grand introduction by Zhu Daozi, the current leader, Limitless, finally appeared. Limitless rode the Tao wind. He was an old man, close to 80 years old. His hair was white, and his robes were plain. He held a Tao feather in his hand. Beside him were a few young people. Each of them had the strength of 3 Calamity Realm Taos. Under everyone's welcome, Limitless said some courteous words. In the end, He wanted everyone to rest assured and work for the Doi-Chi and the immortal primordial world. Limitless also said the reason for recruiting them. It was to take over the mortal emperor world. The banquet was held. Limitless also left. In the end, he did not see Xian Dao Tian. After returning to the city, Su Fong found an excuse to leave this territory. Arriving at a lofty mountain range thousands of miles away, he let the great demon come out and hide. Then he began to cut countless wounds on his body again. He put the immortal fruit slices and immortal pills into the wounds along with the immortal fruit slices. Next, his physical body created a shocking impact. Luckily, he had a perfected physical body and the Black Lotus True Body. Otherwise, even a realm lord would not be able to withstand the impact of the immortal fruit and immortal pills. 2 years later, the undying tortoise appeared beside Su Fong. An array formation also started to spread. Su Fong looked at the undying tortoise. "You still need the heavenly tribulation?" The undying tortoise chuckled. "Of course. This can help me fuse with the immortal strength and immortal pills. Also, I can use the heavenly tribulation to refine Tao artifacts. Thanks to your mini-universe immortal gourd, I can replace almost all the small world's true Qi with immortal spirit true Qi." Finished speaking. After Su Fong released his powerful strength, the heavenly tribulation started to change. Wave after wave of heavenly tribulation came crashing down. When the first wave of heavenly tribulation came, Su Fong easily split it into two. He gave one to the undying tortoise, and he used the other to remove most of the tribulation power. He then sent it into his right palm. Similarly, a bloody hole appeared in his palm. Using this method to absorb the heavenly tribulation and then attack his physical body, he grabbed the world fragment with his left hand and started to use the blood-colored heavenly tribulation power to attack the golden lotus stone flower. This time, the undying tortoise did not swallow the heavenly tribulation. Instead, it used its palms to directly absorb the heavenly tribulation. Its body was no longer emitting green smoke, but white smoke. One was a peerless big goblin. The other was a peerless monster. It actually did something that no human cultivator dared to think of. It absorbed the heavenly tribulation into its body. Following that, the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and the most powerful seventh wave of heavenly tribulation all followed the same process. It lasted for a few days before it ended. Su Fong welcomed the impact of the advancement power. Looking at the world fragment with the naked eye, there was no change. However, by absorbing the origin power that leaked out from it, it released a bit more origin power. This meant that the impact of the heavenly tribulation was indeed useful. Although the effect was slow, it would eventually change after a long time. Chapter 829. The undying tortoise was obviously very satisfied with the heavenly tribulation. It immediately entered the Xinguang. "Watch, please move." After the breakthrough, Su Fong cut a large number of wounds on his body and implanted immortal fruits and elixirs. In less than a year, Bai Ling would be able to activate the heavenly next spiritual ring again. In this period of time, he also wanted to increase his strength to the 7th level of the immortal realm. Gradually, the hollow body of the 7th level of the immortal realm felt more and more abundant. His strong body welcomed all kinds of power. Xian Dao Tian is cooped up in Doi-Chi. He can't act alone. As his strength increased, Su Fong also started a plan. The Xinyuan Empire and Doi-Chi will come to the Nebula Galaxy in a few decades. I can't delay any longer. There's only one way. Since Xian Dao Tian won't come out, I can only attack Doi-Chi by force or sneak attack him. Even if Doi-Chi and the Immortal Grand Domain's Realm Master are involved, I have to get rid of Xian Dao Tian. His heart was like a sword. After thinking for a long time, his eyes lit up. At this point, waiting was not a solution. If they did not make a move, the two forces might send troops to the mortal emperor world. When the three immortals met, countless experts would gather, and the mortal emperor world would have no choice but to do so. Next, I have to find an opportunity to strike first. It's also time to inform the sect leader and senior Peng King to prepare to attack the Xinyuan Empire's army. He clenched his fists and began to focus on cultivation. Soon, Su Fong returned to the city. He was either cultivating or waiting for an opportunity. Fortunately, the Doichi also made a move. In these 10 years, the Doichi had recruited more than 200,000 experts. Among them, there were thousands who had the strength of 3 calamity realms. In addition to the forces of Doichi and the immortal Grand Domain's Realm Master, there were millions of experts. They were too strong. He could not let them join the Xinyuan Empire. After waiting for a few more days, the Great Elder, Judaozi, also gathered thousands of experts. The purpose was to assign the manpower. Almost every expert was responsible for hundreds of experts. It turned out that in a few days, Doichi would bring everyone to the primordial god world. The timing was too accurate. Just 10 years later, Doichi was about to take action. Unfettered, true demon, you will be in charge of 1,000 people. This is the name list. Their strength is between the pinnacle of the Ascendant Transformation Realm and the first Dao Calamity Realm. There are also some second Dao Calamity Realm experts. Many big shots met Ju Daozi face to face. This time, it was Su Fong's turn. When he received the list of names from Ju Daozi, he was slightly delighted. There weren't many big shots who could be in charge of 1,000 people. From the looks of it, Doichi valued him greatly. After receiving the order, he also received a large amount of resources from Ju Daozi. Doichi issued a decree for the Su Fong and other major powers to gather the experts on the list and wait in the Imperial City. At any time, they would be sent to the Xinyuan Empire. The Su Fong was happy to gather 1,000 people together. Soon, these people would no longer belong to Doichi, but would become his property. These experts were also very respectful to Su Fong. Whatever Su Fong said, they would do it without the slightest doubt. In order to learn more about Xian, Daotian, and Doichi's specific movements, Su Fong began to use his Perfection Realm abilities to take the risk of infiltrating Doichi's dojo. As a result, he sensed the auras of hundreds of primordial god world cultivators. Unfortunately, these people quickly left Doichi. However, their goal should be to discuss with Doichi when to leave. Su Fong sensed the aura of an immortal. It was hibernating in the depths of Doichi, as well as the powerful and profound aura of the leader, Limitless. Let's wait a little longer. If we make a move now, Doichi's dojo won't be easy to deal with. There are countless disciples, countless experts, and hundreds of thousands of experts recruited from the outside. If he wanted to figure out Xian Daotian's location, he would have to make a move. But from the looks of it, if he made a move now, it wouldn't be easy to kill Xian Daotian. He would have to pay a certain price. About a year passed. Many of the Doichi's elders and higher-ups arrived at the city. Later, Limitless also arrived. In front of hundreds of thousands of experts, he announced a decree from Xian Daotian, ordering them to immediately follow the Doichi's experts to the Xinyuan Empire. In the end, it still came. Su Fong left behind a clone that hid near Doichi's dojo. He only sensed one person's aura, and that was Xian Daotian. He then transformed into the unfettered true devil. In a few days, he led thousands of experts and other experts. Following limitless orders, they formed countless small square formations and flew towards the sky. Brother, don't worry. I will keep an eye on that Xian Daotian. Su Fong didn't just leave behind a clone. He also left behind Fairy He and Bai Ling to wait for Xian Daotian to make a move. Xian Daotian would probably also leave the immortal primordial realm and seemed to be waiting for someone. He led the thousands of people and increased his speed significantly. He flew at the front of the countless formations. Bai Ling's will transmitted from the immortal primordial realm. Brother, now that the Doichi's leader, many elites, higher-ups, and elders have left, we can attack Doichi now. Once Xian Daotian leaves Doichi, we will wait for him to leave before we act. This person must have some motive for staying in Doichi. Don't worry, I will quickly keep these people in my treasure and rush back to meet up with you. After the exchange, Su Fong looked towards the Xinyuan Empire. He estimated that it would take a few years to reach there. He then saw an interstellar storm in the distance. He decisively led the thousands of experts and approached the storm. At almost the same time, his clone also sent news that a few experts had entered Deutsche. Xi and Daotian seemed to be preparing to leave Deutsche. Not good. There's an interstellar storm in front. We don't have a heavenly ship. If we cross it like this, we will only die. Lord, everyone, led by Su Fong, happened to encounter an interstellar shockwave. In front of them was the terrifying interstellar storm. The thousands of people immediately looked towards Su Fong, waiting for orders. Behind them, Zhu Daozi also gave orders to retreat quickly. They had to avoid the storm from the right side of the galaxy. If they could not make it in time, they had to hide in the galaxy for a while. Su Fong naturally led the thousands of experts slowly, purposely letting the storm catch up. He had no choice but to lead the thousands of people to another galaxy to avoid the storm temporarily. The storm is terrifying, but don't worry. When we came out, the Deutsche experts had already made arrangements. They gave me a rune talisman condensed by an immortal. There's a space inside. Everyone can go in and hide for a while. When the storm is over, I will let everyone out. There's also a gift from the Deutsche inside, immortal spiritual qi. Taking advantage of the storm's howling, Su Fong immediately created a channel of immortal light that appeared in the center of the thousands of people. On one hand, these experts were afraid of the storm. On the other hand, they did not doubt Su Fong's words at all. They quickly entered the channel of immortal light. In the end, they all entered the mini-universe Immortal Gourd. Su Fong activated the Tao treasure and released the heavenly demonic voice. In the Tao treasure's space, even immortals would find it difficult to deal with his heavenly demonic voice. After a few breaths, the thousands of experts were easily suppressed by him. They were his assets. Naturally, he would not return them to the Deutsche. Whoosh! He flew towards the immortal primordial realm at his fastest speed. His speed was so fast that it was like passing through a door. Just as he was about to enter the immortal primordial realm, Bai Ling transmitted a thought. Xi and Dao Tian is about to come out. Old brother, this is bad. One of the cultivators who came to meet Xi and Dao Tian just now should be the realm lord of the immortal primordial realm. Is that so? If it was really the realm lord of the immortal primordial realm, that was equivalent to a terrifying existence with the strength of an immortal. Moreover, the immortal primordial realm was so vast. The realm lord's strength must be shocking. Don't worry, Sister Bai. At this time, if we don't do anything, they will rush to meet up with the Xinyuan Empire. At that time, there will be 3 immortals and 2 realm lords. Coupled with the millions of experts from the 2 realms, there is no way we can win against them. We can only attack the realm lord and Xi and Dao Tian. I will wait for them at the Stellar River. Arrange the experts well. After communicating with Bai Ling, Jiang Yi found out from his avatar that the immortal primordial realm lord and Xi and Dao Tian were leaving the immortal primordial realm quickly. Clearly, they were going to the primordial god world. In that case, there was no need for him to go to the immortal primordial realm. It would be best to deal with Xi and Dao Tian outside the immortal primordial realm. If they were in the immortal primordial realm, there would be countless origin experts and Deutsche experts rushing over to reinforce them. Master, the Vermilion Emperor, the 9-section Earth Dragon, the heavenly piercing demon Venerable, the Wooling Goblin, the 9-headed Demon King, and the brute force Demon King suddenly appeared around the Su Fong. The undying heavenly Venerable and the undying turtle appeared a little later. It seemed like even without the bulky turtle shell, its personality was still the same. Everyone, listen up. Next, we're going to deal with an immortal, a world lord, and more than 30 terrifying experts with 3 calamities. Su Fong glanced at the 6 big goblins. He also glanced at the undying turtle. That world lord's strength is probably comparable to an immortal. Therefore, we're going to deal with 2 immortals this time. Our biggest enemy is still Xi and Dao Tian. We will definitely help Master kill this strong enemy. The 9-headed Demon King was full of confidence. Of course, the 6 big goblins each had a Tao artifact. They could even activate it to a certain extent. In addition, they were already very strong. Once they attacked, they would be able to shake the heavens and earth. the undying heavenly venerable, the chaos fairy, and I will deal with immortal Xian Dao Tian. The six of you will work together to deal with the immortal primordial realm lord and more than 30 experts. Vermilion Emperor, sky-piercing demon venerable. It's best if the two of you join forces to deal with the immortal Grand Mist World Overlord. Any one of you will have the confidence to defeat him. If you join forces, you'll definitely be able to kill him. Once you kill him, those 30-plus experts won't be afraid. Our main goal is to kill Xian Dao Tian. Since the immortal primordial realm lord is also helping the Xinyuan Empire to deal with our mortal emperor world, we will eliminate him as well. This battle will be extraordinary. If we succeed, we won't have to hide from the Xinyuan Empire anymore. If we fail, the mortal emperor world will have to hide from the two great powers forever. Therefore, we must succeed this time, no matter what the price is. Don't worry. As long as we can protect our lives, I will be able to help you recover in a short period of time. Let's go to the Star River ahead to set up a trap. In about 10 breaths, Xian Dao Tian and the immortal primordial realm lord will arrive at this Star River. With a wave of his hand, Su Fong brought the 7 big goblin away from the immortal primordial realm and towards the Star River in the primordial god world. Soon, they arrived at a Star River filled with debris, dust, and a small area of nebula. Other than Su Fong and the undying tortoise, the 6 big goblin immediately flew around and hid. Su Fong also used the rune talisman that contained the life-shrinking technique. Then, he used the 8 primordial spiritual elephant formation from the spirit sect. He released the fire god elephant and the 8 fire crystal golems to absorb the power of the surrounding Star River and the 6 big goblin. Then, he hid the 8 primordial spiritual elephant formation in the depths of the Star River with the power of the world. All of this ended in about 10 breaths. The 8 experts were gone. In the blink of an eye, more than 30 giants flew over from the Star River in the immortal primordial realm. They were 2 peerless powerhouses with imposing appearances who could control the galaxy. One of them was a young man who was less than 30 years old. He was dressed in the attire of the Tao Yi sect, and there was a natural immortal glow around him. One could tell at a glance that he was Xian Dao Tian from the lower realm. Beside him was a middle-aged man in his 50s. He did not stand out, but his starry eyes could control the power of the surrounding Star River. Chapter 830. If he could be with Xian Dao Tian, then he must be the realm lord of the immortal primordial realm. Behind this group of experts, a thought crossed the lonely starry sky and spoke in Su Fong's mind. Brother, those people are not simple. Su Fong replied, Xian Dao Tian, the realm lord of immortal primordial realm, must be here today to eliminate them. Sister Bai, wait for the right time to strike. Our first target is still Xian Dao Tian. As for the realm lord of immortal primordial realm, Vermilion Emperor and the others will deal with him. Whoosh, whoosh, they could see Ithindakan, the realm lord of immortal primordial realm, and the others flying toward the galaxy with the faint nebula. Su Fong, the undying tortoise, Vermilion Emperor, 9-section Earth Dragon, Tongtian Monster Lord, Wooling Goblin, 9-headed Goblin King, and King of Brute Force all held their breaths. He stared at the group of people as they flew into the star field. When the last person stepped in, Su Fong's thoughts suddenly exploded in the minds of the big goblin. Bang, 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 bang. Xian Dao Tian and the realm lord of immortal primordial realm were leading the group through this galaxy. Since the nebula was not dense, they would not get lost. None of them purposely went around this galaxy. At this moment, a horrifying formation suddenly appeared around them. Xian Guang contained the nebula and the dazzling light of the galaxy. Xian Dao Tian was indeed an immortal. When he saw the nebula suddenly distorted and the light coming at them, he shouted, Not good! In an instant, all the experts were surrounded by the distorted starlight. Along with the distorted power, a vast force trapped them within it. It was so strong that their defense began to crack. In the time of a breath, the second wave of distorted power came. Before the experts could react, the third wave, the fourth wave, and the 8th wave of distorted power came from above and around them. None of them could escape at this moment. They were all drowned in the horrifying attacks of the formation. In the nebula above, Su Fong suddenly materialized and said, "Vermilion Emperor, 9-section Earth Dragon, Tontian Monster Lord, Wooling Goblin, 9-headed Goblin King, King of Brute Force, release your Tao artifacts. Do not give them a chance to breathe." After Xiao Sha gave the order, boom, wave after wave of Tao treasure radiance shot out from the different turbulent nebulas around them. Below them was still the shock waves from the 8 Origins Soul Elephant Formation. This time, the 8 Origins Soul Elephant Formation was pushed to the limit by Su Fong. Together with the 6 Big Goblin, it was not difficult for them to kill the 3 Calamity Titans. The 8 Origin Divine Elephant Formation continued to attack the dozens of experts. The Dazzling Light also attacked. A Tao Treasure Saber suddenly carried the aura of an astral saber. Regardless of the situation of the shock wave below, the immortal saber directly slashed into it. Following that, a series of Tao artifacts sword beams pierced forward. The immortal sword carried a 1,000-foot Tao artifact chi mark as it followed the immortal saber into the array formation shockwave. Immediately, other Tao artifacts could be seen attacking. For example, a gigantic tooth, a series of astonishing fist imprints, and many different Tao artifacts attacked. Just like that, they continuously dealt heavy damage to the shockwaves. Wrath of the Demon God. 6 giant monsters appeared in different directions above. Each of them was using their demonic aura to control the Tao artifacts to attack. One Tao artifact after another returned to their hands. The Vermilion Emperor suddenly transformed into his true body, the gigantic boar demon body. He opened his mouth violently, like the bloody tongue of a monster, and shot into the exploding starry nebula below. Boom! The wrath of the demon god suddenly seemed to have hit an incomparably heavy object. There was a deep tremor. A cluster of immortal radiance rose from below and began to disperse the remaining power of the 8 Origins Soul Elephant Formation. In fact, after the Tao artifacts began to attack, the power of the 8 explosions of the 8 Origins Soul Elephant Formation had already begun to disappear. One could still see the aura of red elephants in the disappearing array formation. This was the remaining power of the 8 Origins Soul Elephant Formation. What a powerful immortal! Su Fong came to the side of the Vermilion Emperor alone. After he signaled, the Vermilion Emperor sucked the wrath of the demon god back into his mouth. Within the immortal radiance that burst out from the starry nebula, there were 3 Calamity Realm experts in a sorry state. They were all injured, and a few of them were especially serious. However, the person who released the immortal radiance, as well as a middle-aged man who released the essence of the world, still had a domineering aura and a piercing gaze. The immortal radiance protected those people. The one who controlled the immortal radiance was Xian Daotian. He exploded with the fury of thunder. Where did this little demon of the demon race come from? How dare you sneak attack me? Xian Daotian. Su Fong walked out, protected by the Vermilion Emperor. You will fall here like your brother, Xian Xiangxing. You will die in the hands of me, Su Fong. You are Su Fong, the one who killed my brother. Suddenly, Xian Daotian's gaze ignored all Big Goblin and locked onto Su Fong. That's me. You want to avenge your brother, right? You came from the lower domain. You can't be willing to help the Xinyuan Empire take back the mortal emperor world. You should want to kill me too. Ignorant brat, hand over your life. Whoosh, whoosh. Xian Daotian was like a furious lion. He did not expect that Su Fong would dare to appear and be so arrogant. After Su Fong finished his words, Xian Daotian turned into a blur. The space in the starry river between him and Su Fong seemed to be frozen. Whoosh! Su Fong pushed his speed to the extreme. He was covered in cold sweat as he immediately flew to the sky. Boom! Just as he was a few feet away, Xian Daotian blasted the galaxy where he was. A black hole could be seen there. How horrifying! As Xiao Chan watched Su Fong flee, he thought to himself, the sky flashed again. The speed of the afterimage surpassed Su Fong's. The Vermilion Emperor and the other big goblin did not attack Exai and Daotian. When they saw this immortal running away, they immediately surrounded the immortal expanse realm lord and the other powerful warriors. Where do you think you're going? Another sword net was formed. As Exai and Daotian waved his hand, it released a large amount of celestial light. This celestial light sword net traveled through the galaxy and passed through the profound door. Su Fong saw how powerful the sword net was. Oh no, as expected of an immortal. He's so strong. Even when he was ambushed by the formation, he was not hurt at all. Tao Artifact's blessing, natal divine might. Suddenly, his aura and strength reached the peak of perfection. What was the peak of perfection? Naturally, it was the flying immortal realm with 3 heavenly disasters. At this moment, Su Fong was only at the 7th level of the U transformation realm, but the aura he displayed had already reached the level of 3 heavenly disasters. Su Fong was probably the only cultivator who could reach the final level of the mortal realm at the U transformation realm. So he's such an incredible genius. 7th tier ascension realm, but he has the strength of 3 heavenly disasters. He can even cultivate a shocking natal divine treasure. The sword net continued to attack. It would probably cover Su Fong in the next second. Exai and Daotian was not in a hurry. His strength and speed were both faster than Su Fong, so he was not worried that he would escape. But I'm an immortal, not an ant from the small world. When I was still a mortal realm cultivator, I didn't have such monstrous talent like you. When I first heard that Xiang Sheng was killed, I didn't believe it. 6-story astral pagoda break. Suddenly, the celestial light sword net expanded to 1,000 feet in size. Su Fong was like an insignificant speck of dust in front of this remarkable ability. The sword net continued to attack, and a shocking 6-story golden pagoda exploded from Su Fong's body. The golden pagoda still had a shocking glow from a Tao artifact, and it rushed towards the sword net. Ha! When the sword net hit the golden pagoda, the first story was easily broken. Then, the second story was broken as well. Fortunately, the third and 4th story could hold on for a moment. When it came to the 5th and 6th story, the golden pagoda resisted the sword net for a breath and started to break as well. The speed of the sword net also slowed down by half a beat. Su Fong's fist turned into a golden and silver light, carrying the illusory fire cloud. It hit the sword net, but it was still pressed down into the starry sky below. Fortunately, the sword net could not suppress him. This move of mine is enough to suppress any cultivator from the small world, as well as most of the small world's realm masters. It was blocked by a nameless cultivator like you. Exai and Daotian could not believe it, but he formed seals and waved his hand again, and everything under his feet was destroyed. So what? You're still just a pitiful, struggling ant. Limitless clone, sword chi suppression. He separated his hands, and Exai and Daotian used Doichi's limitless path technique. A large number of clones were vivid and lifelike, and they formed seals on their own. Dozens of clones carried celestial light and sword intent, and they rushed towards Su Fong. Exai and Daotian frowned coldly. Where are you going to hide this time? Limitless clone. But in the next second, he was so shocked that his jaw almost dropped. It turned out that Su Fong had also used limitless clone, and the power and aura of each clone had merged with the Milky Way. You actually know my sect's supreme technique, the limitless path technique. Exai and Daotian gradually looked at Su Fong differently. How is it possible that he doesn't just know my sect's path technique? This person can't control the Milky Way. Only a small world's realm master can control the Milky Way to such a degree. Could he be a small world's realm master? Boom, boom, boom. Both sides used limitless clone. Exai and Daotian's clone was a fierce sword intent, while Su Fong's clone was an illusory fire cloud. The clones fought, but Su Fong's clone was obviously weaker. I'll let you see my supreme path technique. Su Fong reckoned that just the clones alone were enough to make it hard for him to defend himself. But Exai and Daotian was still not at ease. At this moment, the thought of killing Su Fong had already started to burn and explode in his body. Xian Daotian's body was covered with dazzling immortal marks that did not belong to a small world. His eyes and even a strand of hair were emitting immortal light. Limitless domain, Sword Master's realm. At this moment, Xian Daotian was like the lord of the nine heavens. Bang! Around Su Fong in the Milky Way, Xian Daotian's limitless clone suddenly shattered. Then he felt that his aura and breathing were being frozen by the Milky Way. What terrifying control! Flesh, fetus, divine armor, indestructible golden body, life treasure, Tao artifact, defense. Su Fong also used his strongest defense. It was just in time, because at this moment he actually saw the Milky Way with his great perfection realm ability. Everywhere around him was sword intent pressing down on him. There was nowhere to hide, and there was no space to hide. And the sword intent had merged with the Milky Way. This place felt like a world of its own. Boom! It was as if the Milky Way had hit Su Fong. He used his strongest defense, but it was suddenly shaken by the Milky Way, and the defense began to shatter layer by layer. Su Fong, who was in the middle, was also shaken to the point that he vomited a shocking amount of blood. He was no match for an immortal. It was a coincidence that he was able to kill that immortal in the Beichin zone. And the sneak attack on Jingbei Emperor was also considered lucky. Jingbei Emperor was too careless. In the end, his body was hit by the Tao artifact, and he died in Su Fong's hands. But the sneak attack of the Tao artifacts and the 8 origin spiritual elephant formation did not even hurt Xian Daotian at all. And any divine ability that Su Fong mastered was not very effective against Xian Daotian. After Xian Daotian used the true methods of the immortals from the Great World, the difference between a mortal realm cultivator and an immortal was so obvious. Xian Daotian flashed over. With astonishment, he said, "A mortal realm cultivator is also so difficult to deal with. I have been in the lower realm for many years, and this is the first time I use my full strength. If I don't kill you, Doichi and I will be in danger." Chapter 831. Su Fong's strongest defense continued to shatter layer by layer. The sword intent continued to kill. What flesh armor! Even the indestructible golden body could not resist the terrifying shackles of this Tao technique's sword intent domain. Look, please move. Limitless domain, limitless domain. Rumor has it that the domain is above the divine avatar realm. I did not expect an immortal to have such terrifying control in the Milky Way. He activated the indestructible golden body with all his might and pushed the defense of his Tao treasure to the extreme. His life treasure's defense could not withstand the immortal's attacks. He wasted his true chi again and again. It was like a flood that could not be controlled. The limitless Tao technique is broad and profound. Kid, your cultivation is still too early. Do you think that you can truly understand this technique just because you cultivate the limitless Tao technique? Su Fong's suppression was almost certain. Immortal Xian Daotian displayed an aura and strength that surpassed the immortal avatar realm. He gradually came in front of Su Fong. His eyes could see through the Milky Way. My sect's limitless Tao technique is a supreme immortal level ability. My first sect leader accidentally found it in a dangerous place in the immortal primordial domain. Generations of Doichi immortals who ascended to the great world have been searching for the true origin of the limitless Tao technique in the great world. Who knows, it might be a technique from a great world sect. This technique is not something a mortal world ant like you can control. Illusion and reality, evolution. Su Fong had to use all his power to block this attack. He secretly endured the pain. While he activated the indestructible golden body, he activated the ethereal 10,000 laws Tao and used his world ability to remove a portion of the limitless sword intense power. Still struggling. Xian Daotian was less than 10 meters away from Su Fong. He said in shock, if it were any other realm lord, they would also die under the limitless domain. So no matter how much you struggle, your fate is to die here. Is this my limit? Is this the limit of a mortal world cultivator's strength? Su Fong glanced at the smug and murderous Dao Tian in his heart. He felt as if he was standing face to face with the strongest person in control of a small world. He could clearly see the gap between them. No matter how weak he was still a realm lord, and his strength had reached 3 calamities. Those who could surpass him in strength were probably Realm Lord Zhuotian, the 6 lords of fertility, the Lord of 5 poisons, the Green Feather King, the Undying Tortoise, and Bai Ling Su Fong was confident that there was only a small gap between him and these experts. But at this moment, the difference between him and the Dao Heart Heavens was like heaven and earth. No, I am only at level 7 of the Feather Transformation Realm, not to mention the Flying Celestial Realm. Even if I reach level 8, level 9, and level 10 of the Flying Celestial Realm, my strength will surpass anyone. Once I reach the Flying Celestial Realm, I will be the strongest mortal world cultivator in this small world. Su Fong watched as the sword intent once again shattered the Dao artifact defense and the indestructible golden body. His physical body was almost torn into pieces, but his eyes were unusually bright. But today, I am not at the Flying Celestial Realm, and I do not have the strength to surpass the peak. However, it will not be easy for the Dao Heart Heavens to kill me, because I am not alone. Su Fong, you killed my younger brother, made an enemy of the Doichi, cultivated the limitless Dao art, and dared to make an enemy of the Xinyuan Empire. Today, I will not kill you. I will suppress you. The Dao Heart Heavens gradually walked from 10 meters away to Su Fong, who had been suppressed by the sword intent. It's coming. Screech unexpectedly. The moment the Dao Heart Heavens swore to suppress Su Fong, a shocking Milky Way palm print formed by tortoise patterns suddenly pounced from behind him. Boom! The speed and attack of this sudden tortoise pattern palm print had reached the peak of the small world. The attack caught the Dao Heart Heavens off guard. The Dao Heart Heavens' reaction was too shocking. He grinned disdainfully, turned around, and used an Immortal Light defense to block the tortoise pattern palm print. It did not shatter the Immortal Light defense. TSK, the tortoise pattern palm print seemed to be shackled, but a saber aura that contained Immortal Light suddenly attacked from the inside. The Dao artifact's Dao Light was cleverly hidden by the tortoise pattern palm print. The saber aura quickly and violently struck the Dao Heart Heavens defense. With a crack, the Immortal Light defense was actually destroyed by the saber aura. Whoosh! Before the Dao Heart Heavens could react, another Immortal Light saber aura struck him. Bang! This time, the Dao Heart Heavens was very surprised. He did not expect a second saber aura to attack him. He subconsciously used his left arm to block in front of him. He actually used his left arm to block the Dao artifact's saber aura, and his skin was only slightly scratched. Tisk Su Fong, who was being suppressed by the Dao artifact, suddenly shot out a surge of Dao artifact's might. Finally, when the Dao Heart Heavens was entangled by the attacks, he jumped up and struggled free. The Dao Heart Heavens glanced at Su Fong. He did not seem to care. Instead, he looked at where the 2 saber auras came from. Where did this expert come from? A young man in a red robe appeared. It was the Undying Tortoise with 2 sabers. The Undying Tortoise opened its mouth, revealing its white and neat teeth. I am the Undying Heavenly Lord. Hee. Your opponent today should be me. Undying Heavenly Lord. The Dao Heart Heavens shook his left arm, and all the saber auras disappeared. It seems like there is no expert like you in the immortal primordial domain. You are quite strong, but you have not gone through your tribulation. You cannot be my opponent. You should be a demon. You do not need to worry about my background. You should think about your ending today. Don't think that just because an immortal is here, you can be so arrogant in front of me. Watch out for my saber. The Undying Tortoise charged over. The Dao Heart Heavens took out a long whip. It was formed by countless immortal marks. In the Dao Heart Heaven's hand, it released a shocking amount of immortal light. He looked at the Dao artifact in the Undying Tortoise's hand. This saber seems to be the Jingbei Emperor's Dao artifact. Haha, you just realized. So you're the ones who killed the Jingbei Emperor. Since you are so strong, I will not be courteous to you. The Dao Heart Heavens threw out his whip, and a black hole appeared in the galaxy. Slap! 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 In the blink of an eye, the long whip formed by immortal light was connected to the black hole. It lashed at the undying tortoise's twin sabers. The Tao artifact gave off an even more dazzling light and an even more deafening explosion. The undying tortoise's twin sabers were suppressed by the immortal light whip. However, he quickly regained his strength. After all, he was wielding a Tao artifact. Moreover, he had mastered many mystical abilities. His speed was also at its peak. The twin sabers struck the long whip repeatedly, causing the immortal light whip to retreat. "Old brother, you don't need me to do anything." At this moment, a pair of eyes were staring at Su Fong from behind. There was another pair of eyes in the depths of the galaxy. Su Fong replied calmly, "This Tao Heart Heavens is very different from the Jingbei Emperor's strength. This person is really a genius. Moreover, we sneak attacked Tao Heart Heavens and the Immortal Expanse Realm Lord. Unlike the Jingbei Emperor, he did not suffer any injuries. Sister Bai, wait first. You are a trump card." Hee hee. Bai Ling continued to hide in the depths. Illusory fire cloud. Su Fong did not hold back. This time, he wanted to join forces with the undying tortoise to deal with Tao Heart Heavens. He wanted to fight against the immortal. It was not realistic to do so through the previous exchange. What he wanted to do was not to kill Tao Heart Heavens, but to tie him down. He wanted to gain an advantage for the undying tortoise and let the undying tortoise kill him. Large amounts of flaming clouds descended around Tao Heart Heavens. Domain defense. The immortal reacted instantly. He was surrounded by burning immortal aura. The illusory fire cloud was extraordinary, but Su Fong was not an immortal. He could not use even 1/10,000th of its power. He really helped the undying tortoise. Tao Heart Heavens started to be wary and guarded against Su Fong. The power and mystiques released were not as terrifying as before. After a while, Su Fong did not want to drag this out. "I will not let you have an easy time." He took out an immortal rune talisman. Immortal talisman. This was obtained from the storage rings of the two immortals. There were a few immortal talismans, and some of them contained offensive power. No matter how terrifying the offensive power was, it was crucial to deal with Tao Heart Heavens. The only thing that could truly tie down Tao Heart Heavens now was the power from the great worlds. After fusing with the rune talisman and mastering the immortal runes and hand seals, the illusory fire cloud continued to descend. It surrounded the rune talisman and immortal runes and attacked rapidly. Zap! Zap! A large amount of demonic poison was released by the undying tortoise. The demonic poison was powerful. When it came into contact with the immortal light released by Tao Heart Heavens, it was not scattered by the immortal light. Instead, it continued to surge toward Tao Heart Heavens. Tao Heart Heavens also realized how extraordinary the undying tortoise was. Not only could it fight him face to face, its true chi was also abundant. And now, it could release such demonic poison. Any mystique that came from Tao Heart Heavens was blocked by the undying tortoise's dual-sabered Tao artifact. This was the true power of the undying tortoise. It was at the same level as the immortals. Boom! The two boulder experts were locked in a fierce battle. Su Fong, who had become a spectator, could not do anything. But when a huge explosion of immortal light hit the inner defenses of Tao Heart Heavens, it exploded with a terrifying force. It blasted Tao Heart Heavens and sent him flying. Huh! The undying tortoise suddenly chased after him and used its elbow. The injured Tao Heart Heavens lost his balance and was hit in the tailbone by the undying tortoise. It was so painful that Tao Heart Heavens was enraged. He released his defenses and spat out a snake-shaped flying sword that emitted starlight in front of him. Clang! Tao Heart Heavens! The undying tortoise took the opportunity to attack again. Its dual sabers were powerful. In terms of divine power, Wooling Goblin and the Sky-Reaching Monster Lord were not even 1/10 as strong as the undying tortoise. But The flying sword from Tao Heart Heavens blocked the two immortal sabers and overturned the undying tortoise. Here's another immortal pattern. None of this could escape Su Fong's eyes. He gritted his teeth and remembered the scene when he fought with the third prince of the Xinyuan Empire. Santai Zi used a talisman to injure him and destroy the edgeless sword. At that time, he thought that the immortal talisman was extremely powerful and invincible. But now, the immortal talisman that he used did not feel as powerful as before. It only injured Tao Heart Heavens a little. And so, he took out another immortal pattern. Its attack was still powerful. After fusing with it, he saw that Tao Heart Heavens was twice as powerful as before. Tao Heart Heavens activated his immortal sword. You actually forced me to use my immortal sword. This is not the great world. Once I use my immortal sword, all of you will die. It's hard to say who will die. Su Fong shouted in the sky. You die first. Suddenly, whoosh. What Su Fong did not expect was that Tao Heart Heavens actually moved in the sky and reached the speed of shuttling. In the next moment, Tao Heart Heavens appeared 100 meters in front of Su Fong and stabbed out with his sword. Su Fong saw that the starry sky was filled with sword lights that were like snakes. Tao Heart Heavens returned to his original spot and looked at the undying tortoise again. Clang, clang, clang. In the blink of an eye, the sky was filled with sword lights. It was like a snake nest that had awakened and suppressed the undying tortoise. If not for the undying tortoise's dual saber Tao artifact, he would not be able to withstand this attack. But Su Fong was in trouble. The world in front of him was filled with sword lights. Was this the power of an immortal? He immediately activated the small universe immortal pot. His last move was to force the undying tortoise into a Tao artifact. Chapter 832. The mini-universe immortal pot disappeared along with Su Fong and suddenly floated in the Star River. At this moment, countless snake-shaped sword lights in the Star River pounced around the mini-universe immortal pot, engulfing this Tao artifact. Fortunately, I have a Tao artifact for defense. Within the Tao artifact, Su Fong let out a sigh of relief. He felt the immortal pot constantly shaking, but fortunately, Yuan Ling told him not to worry, thinking that heaven didn't have the strength to break a Tao artifact. However, the mini-universe immortal pot was not an offensive Dharma treasure. According to Yuan Ling, the mini-universe immortal pot could only be used for defense, but heaven might have sealed the mini-universe immortal pot. Sealing the immortal pot? If that was the case, then Su Fong would also be sealed in the Tao artifact, and he would be in trouble. Whoosh! About 10 breaths later, he left an afterimage and returned to the Star River in the blink of an eye. There were still remnants of sword intent around him, and he looked at the mini-universe immortal pot again. There was indeed no sword mark. Now he was relieved. A Tao artifact was not only used for offense and defense. He put away the immortal pot and looked ahead again. The Central Star River swept up a tearing black hole from time to time. At the center, the Tao artifact's dazzling light was exploding and destructive shockwaves were constantly sweeping out. Any three-step calamity-level powerhouse that approached would be seriously injured. Experts below the two-step calamity level couldn't deal with this level of impact at all. It was like two immortals were fighting each other. Under the power of perfection, heaven didn't have an absolute advantage. The undying tortoise used the dual saber, Tao artifact, and poison. Although it wasn't an immortal and couldn't perfectly use the Tao artifact, its own divine power made up for this. This fellow was also very old. Knowing that it couldn't use the Tao artifact's power, it combined its own advantage with the Tao artifact. This way, it could contend with the powerful heaven. Its advantage: innate divine power. The power produced by the combination of the Tao artifact and divine power was naturally unimaginable. Back then, when the undying tortoise descended from the sky and attacked a sect, it could crush a large number of people in an instant, and it wasn't even a real attack. Now that it had turned into a human form and met an immortal, its true strength was stimulated by the Tao artifact. Its combat strength now looked like that of a rooster. As I expected, the undying tortoise's strength. No cultivator of a realm lord, or leader of a realm, is his opponent. The shockwave caused the defense to be continuously stripped away. It was too terrifying. No one would believe that the undying tortoise and Xian Dao Tian could fight to such an extent. Go. After communicating with the undying tortoise, a large amount of illusory fire cloud descended. This time, Su Fong merged the illusory fire cloud with the netherworld aura. The evil energy from the demonic Dao should be able to affect the heart Dao heaven to a certain extent. Needless to say, it was really an accident this time. Artifact Dao demonic Dao Fongs with Dao Dao's Dao's was Dao Dao's the Dao S Dao to Dao to. Even though he thought that Tian was an immortal, his aura was obviously affected when he encountered the chi of the underworld. Clown. Xiao Chun thought to himself. A beam of light containing a supreme will swept over from the depths of the astral river. This ray of light contained the supreme will of an immortal. It was enough to kill any giant with 3 catastrophes. However, the Yuan Shun was also one of Su Fong's great divine arts, but it was better to be cautious. He still executed the true devil blood plate and released wave after wave of Yuan Shun's godly aura to clash with the eye light. He then tossed the immortal talisman towards the heart Dao heavens along with the illusory fire cloud. Unexpectedly, under the influence of the chi of the underworld, heaven's ability to control the Milky Way was much weaker than before. Then, the rune talisman struck his defense again. A violent explosion blasted Xian Daotian into a bloody mess and sent him flying. The undying tortoise chased after Xian Daotian and waved its twin blades, not giving him a chance to catch his breath. Slash after slash, Xian Daotian felt like he was mincing meat. He thought to himself that Tian was definitely heavily injured this time, and he was also poisoned by the undying tortoise's special demonic poison. This made Su Fong realize that Tian didn't seem to be strong when it came to poisons. Su Fong immediately absorbed a large amount of special poison from the blood ghost True Devil's body and swept it towards Xian Daotian, along with the illusory fire cloud and the chi of the underworld. Starry Daylight Sword, Heart Dao Heavens. Su Fong, maybe an ant in front of you now, but I still have the determination to kill you. He controlled the Starry Daylight Sword and used the power of the world to display his greatest ability in the Milky Way. He had also activated the Dharma powers of the more than 20,000 big goblin Xian Huang, 6 Paths Pagoda, in his body to strengthen his body with true chi. Boom! Another violent Dao artifact shot out. Heart Dao Heavens was forced out from one end. Puffed. How could he have known that a white aurora shadow would suddenly appear behind him like the sun, and as soon as it appeared, it would stab him in the neck? A shocking wound appeared, but it didn't cut off his neck. Poison. Heart Dao Heavens controlled his flying sword to deal with the undying tortoise in front of him. He then touched his neck and saw black blood on his hand. He looked back and saw Su Fong holding the Starry Daylight sword with an embarrassed smile. He was so angry that he shouted, "Kid, I will cut you into pieces." Zap, zap. The chi of the underworld and the illusory fire cloud that descended from above contained even more special poison from the blood ghost True Devil. Su Fong didn't care what kind of immortal he was. He then used his Wuji doppelgangers to attack Xian Daotian. He was only at level 7 of the Feather Transformation realm, but he took the initiative to attack the immortal. On the other side, the undying tortoise unleashed 2 blades of energy. They were domineering and sharp. Clang, clang, clang. Heart Dao Heaven's flying sword wasn't simple either. He slashed horizontally, and a ring of sword chi spread out in all directions. With the Starry Daylight sword in his hand, Su Fong activated the power of this magic artifact that had reached the peak of the small world. It was also a surging sword chi. The Starry Daylight sword only left a mark on Heart Dao Heaven's neck. Even something like the Starry Daylight sword can't kill an immortal from small world. The sword chi came out and clashed with the Doctrine artifact. Many of Wuji's doppelgangers were shattered. Whoosh, little did they know. As the sword chi from both sides clashed, Heart Dao Heaven's flying sword came from the sky with Su Fong as its target. Buzzing, luckily, Su Fong had the ability to complete his physical body. He activated the small universal flask in time and disappeared. Clang! The small universal flask reappeared where Su Fong disappeared. It was accurately hit by the flying sword. With a loud noise, the two doctrine artifacts were both knocked away. Boom! They didn't know if it was a meteor or something else. At the moment when Heart Dao Heavens threw out the flying sword, the undying tortoise seized the opportunity. It transformed into its true form and smashed down from the sky. So, it's a monster tortoise. I know a giant monster tortoise like you. You are the heavenly horned giant tortoise from the immortal curve world. Suddenly, Heart Dao Heaven's celestial light was shattered by a shockwave. He looked up and saw the huge tortoise shell. He exclaimed, and then condensed a beam of celestial light. You are from the mortal world. You are no match for me. Watch me break your tortoise shell into pieces. Swish! He jumped up and slapped the beam of celestial light. Boom! The attack hit the undying tortoise's shell. Heart Dao Heavens thought that immortals would be superior to any living being in a small world. This time he was very wrong. When the beam of celestial light hit the undying tortoise's shell, there was only a violent explosion. Heart Dao Heaven's face twisted in fear, but it was too late. The immortal's body suddenly looked very small when compared to the undying tortoise. Heart Dao Heavens was hit by the undying tortoise's shell. He lost his balance and his center of gravity and fell down. Buzzing on the other side, the mini-universe celestial pot suddenly disappeared. Su Fong appeared from the Dao artifact dimension. He was feeling dizzy and his ears were ringing. When he saw that Heart Dao Heavens was heavily injured, he saw hope. He stepped on the starry daylight sword and increased his speed to the maximum. He quickly went to kill Heart Dao Heavens. The undying tortoise suddenly turned into a bubble in midair. It then turned into a human form and held two swords in its hands. Together with Su Fong, it pounced at Heart Dao Heavens. Sword Starfield. People say that a starving camel is bigger than a horse. If he did not say it, it was Heart Dao Heavens. He suddenly steadied his body. A beam of sword chi pierced through the air. He raised his hands, and the immortal sword in his hands suddenly shot out a sword shadow. 3 puppets come out. Next, he unleashed another beam of celestial light. It was 3 immortal-level puppets that floated in front of him. Each of the 3 puppets had an immortal sword. While the quality was average in a small world, there was no difference in quality between Dao artifacts. Even an average Dao artifact would have the power to destroy the world. Be careful! Su Fong saw this scene with his perfected ability and immediately told the undying tortoise. The two of them stopped in time outside the Starry River domain controlled by the sword chi. In an instant, the Starry River in front of them was pierced by the sword chi, and countless black holes appeared. What a terrifying power! If the two of them were in the middle of it, Su Fong would definitely be killed, and the undying tortoise would also be seriously injured. This move was the strongest move Heart Dao Heavens could use. Whoosh! Whoosh! Although they were not injured by the sword domain, the 3 puppets still pounced. Heart Dao Heavens was a bloody mess, but he was still holding an immortal sword. Immortals are immortals! Su Fong suddenly felt the true terror of immortals. Back in the Beichen zone, killing that immortal and Jingbei King could not be considered fighting immortals. One of them was seriously injured, and the other was ambushed by several Dao artifacts. They were already half dead. Heart Dao Heavens was fighting Su Fong and the undying tortoise in his normal state. Both sides were at the same level. This was the first time in Su Fong's life that he understood how terrifying immortals were. The undying tortoise's eyes narrowed. It did not have such an expression before. Kid, this is troublesome. Heart Dao Heavens is seriously injured, and this is the best chance for us to kill him. But now that he has released 3 immortal puppets, it means we have to fight 4 immortals. 3 puppets and 3 Dao artifacts. Seeing the puppets getting closer and closer, Su Fong suddenly recovered from his shock. This is the best chance to kill Heart Dao Heavens. If we can't kill him now, the three immortals will gather. They will have an understanding of our strength and methods. At that time, they will bring out even more methods from the great world, and we will have no chance of winning. Then you want to fight it out with him? Fight it out. All right, then let's kill. Wait. Su Fong grabbed the undying tortoise. You and I will hold back the three puppets. First, we will give Heart Dao Heavens a boost. Let him feel that we are not his match, and then let Bai Ling ambush him. In truth, the best way to deal with the three puppets is to kill the master controlling them. Without Heart Dao Heavens controlling the puppets, there is nothing to fear. Kid, you're quite crafty. Hee, you're quite smart. The undying tortoise immediately smiled. This is not crafty. This is a method. Facing such a powerful enemy, we are forced to the point where we have no choice. At this time, it will be either you die or I die. They're here. The two experts sense the cold aura of life coming from the puppets. Chapter 833. The three puppet immortals flew over mechanically. They were unable to dodge the meteorite particles and the power of the storm. Their physical bodies made loud banging sounds. Please move. Since they were puppets, they did not feel pain. One on one side, Su Fong cast a sharp light at the undying tortoise. The flaming cloud wings appeared on his back. He used the flaming cloud steps to complement his speed. At this moment, his movement technique had reached the level of shuttling. This was the Milky Way. Heart Dao Tian swallowed an immortal pill. The immortal patterns on his body burned. Demon, I thought I was the best in this Milky Way back then. I ascended a few thousand years ago. This person must be eliminated. Otherwise, I, Doichi, will disappear from this immortal primordial realm soon. Clang! The undying tortoise threw out the immortal sabers in its hand. One saber hit the front of a puppet, while the other spun and almost killed one of the puppets. Although the puppets did not have consciousness, they had the ability to move under Heart Dao Tian's control. The two puppets were entangled by the undying tortoise. The poison released by the undying tortoise could not stop the puppets from attacking. Su Fong was on the other side. The flaming cloud wings were faster than the puppets in front of him. He used the Starry Daylight sword and left many sword marks on the puppets. However, he did not dare to kill too fiercely. If the puppets used their Dao treasures, it could cause great damage to the Starry Daylight sword. It seemed like it was not easy for one human and one demon to deal with the puppets. Limitless Domain, Sword Doppelganger. Heart Dao Tian seemed to have recovered a little. At least he had swallowed an immortal pill to stabilize his injuries. He used the immortal sword in his hand again. A surge of Limitless Dao Technique's power activated the immortal patterns on his body. The immortal light started to flow into the immortal sword and merged with the sword chi. Whoosh! In an instant, one after another, Limitless Dao Tian's doppelganger appeared around him. There were hundreds of them. Moreover, compared to Doichi's Limitless Dao technique, these doppelganger had the ability to move physically. Their strength had surpassed 3 calamities and reached the level of an immortal. Great Mystique and Immortal had used the Dao technique from the Great World to create hundreds of doppelganger. Each doppelganger had the strength of an immortal. Su Fong felt the Limitless Dao technique burning in front of him. Seeing those powerful clones of Limitless, Su Fong was greatly astonished. I didn't expect that killing Xian Daotian would be so difficult. With the power of a great perfection paragon, it was only natural that he could see how frightening the clones were. Sister Bai, once he releases his clone, immediately launch a sneak attack on him. In order to attract his attention, I will do my best to release the pressure on him. On one hand, Su Fong was dealing with the puppet, trying to get rid of it. On the other hand, he was communicating with Crane Fairy Bai Ling, trying to launch the final attack on Xian Daotian. The Starlight Sword in Su Fong's hand suddenly disappeared. He pushed his world power to the limit, and in addition to the ethereal quintessence, he suddenly left the puppets and charged towards the Heart Dao Heaven. You still dare to come and seek death. Limitless Clone, I will let you see how powerful the real Limitless Clone is. Go! In his heart, he thought that Su Fong had appeared and was about to attack. He immediately formed a seal. The limitless clones around him seemed to have come alive. They let out dazzling light, and their immortal patterns burst out. Under the roar of the immortal light, each of the puppet clones formed a seal and flew out. The moment they flew out, each of the clones unleashed a shocking sword intent. Such sword intent was more powerful than any Dharma treasure in the mortal world. The more than 100 clones were like more than 100 immortals. The sword intent that each of them controlled could make the Gales in the galaxy suffer. So powerful. I'm not afraid. The undying tortoise had also injured 2 of the puppets, but it could not kill the puppets in a short time. Seeing so many clones coming, it was also holding back its anger. Swish, swish, Su Fong was also facing a large number of clones that were moving faster and faster. But before that, Su Fong used his most powerful ability to activate the Starlight Sword and quietly attack Xian Daotian. Xian Daotian was controlling the sword and the hundreds of limitless clones. He might not have the same sensitivity as before. When the sword chi of Aurora sword chi came from behind, he could not react. Immediately, the Starlight Sword stabbed into his back. Luckily, he had the immortal patterns to protect him. The Starlight Sword was a peerless Dharma treasure in a small world. That being said, it was still a peerless Dharma artifact. Even so, part of it still pierced into Xian Daotian's back. Clang! Xian Daotian was enraged. He shook his body and forced the Starlight Sword out of his body. He trembled and spat out blood. Poison again. To his surprise, he felt a burning pain on his back. It was the same pain that he felt when he was wounded on his neck. The wound on his neck had started to rot. At the same time, the wound on his back was being poisoned as well. The Starlight Sword was poisoned again. It was the special power of the Blood Ghost True Demon. I can't hurt you even if I try my best with the Starlight Sword, but I can make your wounds worse. Plus, the poison is slowly corroding your body. Your wounds will get worse. By then, you'll be dead. Su Fong could only put away the Starlight Sword when he saw this. Then, he quickly ran away from the limitless clones. As for the puppet, it was not as fast as him, so he did not have to worry about it. At the moment, he and the undying tortoise were about to be surrounded by the limitless clones. An immortal was superior to Su Fong and the undying tortoise. Whoosh, whoosh, Xian Daotian was still in control of the sword. At this moment, he was not worried about Su Fong's sneak attack. To be honest, he did not expect that a flying sword in a small world could have such special abilities. Behind him was the immortal primordial realm, an empty galaxy. As for the 6 big goblin, they were in another galaxy, besieging the master of the immortal primordial realm and dozens of other powerful warriors. Right at this moment, a Xianguang came from behind Xian Daotian. Behind it was Bai Ling, Fairy He in her true form. She was trying to sneak up on Xian Daotian as fast as she could. There's someone else. Xian Daotian was still in control of the sword. He turned around and was surprised to see a gray Xianguang coming at him. Xian Daotian did not take it seriously. He breathed out a ray of light that was strong enough to shatter the Xianguang and blasted at the gray Xianguang. Rumble, as he expected, no matter how powerful the mortal realm was, it was not a match for an immortal. The immortal light was smashed into pieces by the chaotic, profound light with an unstoppable force. Just as he was about to attack Bai Ling, a gust of wind came from the quickly disappearing Xianguang. This gust of wind was like a sharp sword. When it came out, it reached Xian Daotian in the blink of an eye. Xian Daotian was slightly surprised, but he was still shocked. Instantly, a ray of light condensed in front of him. Defend. A layer of immortal light defense was formed instantly. Boom! Xian Daotian thought that any attack would not be a threat to his defense. However, he did not expect a circle to shatter his defense and reach him. This is a Dao artifact. With a whoosh, he held the immortal sword in front of him. His eyes widened again at this moment. He watched as a chaotic circle hit the celestial sword just as it was about to attack. Poof! He did not expect his body to tremble and spit out a mouthful of blood. Crack! Crack! The attack continued to come. Before Xian Daotian could react, The immortal sword in his hand started to shatter. At this moment, his eyes were fixed on the mysterious circle, and his body actually burned into an afterimage. Boom! The immortal sword was shattered by the circle. At the same time, the circle continued to attack Xian Daotian. Xian Daotian, who was in the form of an afterimage, was hit by the circle in the blink of an eye. He should have been killed by the celestial next spirit circle. When he attacked Jingbei Emperor, the immortal died under the attack of the celestial next spirit circle. However, at this moment, when Xian Daotian's afterimage was hit by the circle, it suddenly exploded. Then, another afterimage separated from Xian Daotian. He wanted to escape from the celestial next spirit circle, but it was not difficult for the circle to kill one afterimage of Xian Daotian. It continued to attack the second afterimage of Xian Daotian. In this way, the second afterimage was also shattered. However, unexpectedly, the third afterimage also started to separate when the second afterimage was shattered. More than 10 afterimages appeared in succession. Under the attack of the celestial next spirit circle, they were all shattered and turned into a bloody mist. Boom! After the celestial next spirit circle killed more than 10 afterimages of Xian Daotian, its speed slowed down. After the last afterimage was sent flying, the circle flew towards Bai Ling. He's actually not dead. Bai Ling grabbed the circle and transformed into his human form. He did not dare to chase, but he also stared at Xian Daotian's every move. Su Fong, who was almost surrounded in front, was shocked when he heard this. However, he realized something. He's not dead. However, the puppet's movements have slowed down. The attacks of the hundreds of Wuji clones are also weakening. The undying turtle also rose high into the sky from the other side. Return. Xian Daotian, who was sent flying, lost the Dao artifact, and was also heavily injured by the celestial next spirit circle. Suddenly, he floated up. He was very slow. However, more than 100 Wuji clones and 3 puppets all flew towards him. Unexpectedly, when he absorbed the Wuji clones into his body, his aura became stronger little by little. Then, he let the 3 puppets open a path above him, breaking through the power of the stars. He actually flew towards the endless sky of the Milky Way. He's trying to escape. We can't let him escape. The undying turtle shouted loudly. Bai Ling and Su Fong both exploded their speed to the extreme at this moment. Whoosh! The undying turtle's speed was still more powerful. It was 1 step faster and threw out 2 immortal Dao swords. Then he suddenly transformed into his original body in the Milky Way. The huge undying turtle's demon body trembled. Its head suddenly straightened, facing the Milky Way high above Xian Daotian, and suddenly opened its mouth to suck. Boom! The 2 immortal Dao swords also hit the 2 puppets below Xian Daotian. In order to stop the immortal Dao swords, Xian Daotian did not hesitate to abandon the puppets and use the puppets to block the immortal Dao swords. Whoosh! Whoosh! After 3 breaths, the undying turtle's body shook out a terrifying gust of wind. He opened his mouth and spat out an indescribable Xianguang storm. It was 100 times faster than Xian Daotian's current speed. Whoosh! Whoosh! When Xian Daotian reacted, the Xianguang storm was like a black cloud enveloping him. Then, he found that he could not move. No, he was moving. Instead, he was controlled by an invisible force controlling the black cloud and was falling from the sky. Looking down, Xian Daotian's eyes suddenly narrowed. He saw that the undying turtle's control force was opening its mouth to shackle him back from the Milky Way. I didn't expect that Xian Daotian would also fail miserably. At the beginning, I should have killed them with my strongest power. Xian Daotian looked at the distant depths of the Milky Way with pity, as if he saw the gorgeous big world. He bit his finger and drew a blood mark between his eyebrows. Daotian has perished and turned into dust. Be careful. Although Su Fong could not stop Xian Daotian, his great perfection ability was better than anyone here. At a glance, he saw that all the power of Xian Daotian was turning into a burning state. Self-destruct. He felt that he turned around and shouted. He nervously flew down to the bottom of the Milky Way with Bai Ling boom. Xian Daotian exploded in an instant, turning into a dazzling Milky Way like a divine sun. Chapter 834. Self-detonation and Immortal had self-detonated in a small world. The self-detonation force from Xian Daotian swallowed the galaxy he was in, and it also spread in all directions. The black suction cloud that the undying tortoise had spat out earlier also collapsed under the self-detonation. An immortal's power is indeed beyond a small world. Su Fong and Bai Ling saw that the situation was not good and had already used their fastest speed to dodge. Only the undying tortoise was left. With its big goblin body, it was impossible for it to dodge the self-detonation force in an instant. Unexpectedly, with a flip, its head and limbs retracted into the tortoise shell, and after flipping over, it used the tortoise shell to block the exploding immortal light. Boom! At this moment, the galaxy was blasted by the self-detonation force from Xian Daotian, creating an unimaginable shock wave. The shock wave looked like it was born from the natural movement of the galaxy, but there was a large amount of immortal light inside. The undying tortoise had just flipped over when the immortal light shock wave hit its tortoise shell with the force of a surging river, instantly shaking it away. In the next second, the big goblin's body was swallowed by the immortal light shock wave. In the distant galaxy, Su Fong and Bai Ling teleported and arrived at the periphery of the self-detonation just in time. Bai Ling's eyes shone with spiritual light as he stared at the galaxy that was swallowed by the shock wave. Is that damn pervert all right? Su Fong shook his head and recovered from his shock. I saw it with my perfected ability just now. He used his tortoise shell to block the self-detonation force. His tortoise shell is as hard as a Dao artifact, so he should be fine. I didn't expect an immortal's self-detonation to have such power. After all, it is an existence that has gone from a small world to a large world to cultivate. The material and power of the large world must be countless times more than that of the small world. Furthermore, Xian Daotian is also a peerless figure, so his self-detonation force is far more powerful than that of an ordinary immortal. The undying tortoise is too powerful. Previously, Xian Daotian wanted to escape. And I didn't have the confidence to catch him. Who would have thought that the undying tortoise would be able to suck Xian Daotian in and force him to self-destruct? This is the first time I've seen such an ability. It should be the innate ability of the undying tortoise. If you and the undying tortoise can kill Xian Daotian, then we can kill that immortal from the Xinyuan Empire called Jing Suifeng in another mysterious existence. Let's go take a look. 10 breaths later. The power of self-destruction gradually lost its destructive momentum under the pressure of the vast galaxy. The shockwave was also disappearing. Su Fong and Bai Ling flew over again. They were very worried about the undying tortoise. The immortal tortoise was still using its shell to block the shockwave, and it lazily stretched out its head to look around. Once it saw Su Fong and Bai Ling, it immediately turned into its human form. You guys run really fast. Anyway, your shell can't be broken. If you don't stay, who will? Bai Ling was very eloquent and didn't give the undying tortoise any face. The three of them flew towards the immortal Radiance Galaxy that had mostly disappeared. They didn't see Xian Daotian's corpse, but there were many unbounded Dao techniques lingering in this galaxy. Nothing is left behind. When the light completely disappeared and the galaxy regained its calm, Su Fong used his perfected vision and looked around. He shrugged in disappointment. The undying tortoise said coldly, "This person probably didn't want to leave his things to us before he self-destructed. We should help the others and kill the other experts from the immortal primordial domain." Since Xian Daotian was dead, they still had to kill many more experts. The three of them flew towards the other side of the galaxy. After more than 10 breaths, they saw various Dao artifacts Xian Guang surrounding and killing more than 10 experts from the immortal primordial domain. It seemed like the 6 big goblin had killed more than half of the experts from the immortal primordial domain. Su Fong asked Bai Ling to help. Then, He and the undying tortoise flew toward the other side where there was a shocking explosion. It turned out that the heavenly piercing demon Venerable and the Vermilion Emperor were attacking the immortal primordial domain lord. Su Fong and the undying tortoise flew over and relaxed. They saw that the immortal primordial domain lord was surrounded by two big goblins. They were using their Tao artifacts to attack him. The immortal primordial domain lord was severely injured, but the two big goblins weren't injured at all. If the immortal primordial domain lord didn't use a Tao artifact, he would have been torn apart by the two big goblins. Su Fong condensed his primordial spirit as he roared. Realm Lord of the immortal Grand Mist Realm Lord, you should know that just a moment ago, immortal Exen Thauton was killed by us. You are also heavily injured. Could it be that you still have the strength to fight against the four of us? The immortal primordial domain Lord stumbled. Xian Dao Tian is dead. It seemed like he didn't know. Being surrounded by the Vermilion Emperor and the heavenly reaching demon Venerable with their Tao artifacts, the immortal primordial domain Lord didn't care about the lives of others. Su Fong shouted, "You can totally sense Xian Dao Tian's aura. I'll give you 3 breaths of time. If you choose to continue being our enemy and not submit to me, the undying heavenly Venerable, the two big goblin, and I will definitely kill you in less than 10 breaths of time." The Vermilion Emperor and the heavenly reaching demon Venerable kept their Tao artifacts. However, they still released their demonic poison and demonic qi. The shackles on the immortal primordial domain Lord didn't disappear. 1 breath, 2 breaths, in less than 3 breaths, the immortal primordial domain Lord seemed to have aged. I didn't expect that Xian Dao Tian would die in your hands. Not only Xian Dao Tian, but Jingbei Emperor as well. You should know who he is, right? 4 immortals descended to the mortal emperor world to deal with the 5 poison divine sect. However, I can tell you that the one who seized the mortal emperor world wasn't the 5 poison divine sect. It was me, Su Fong. All this while, the Xinyuan Empire has been searching for me. Su Fong released his Tao artifact's divine aura and a shocking pressure. He looked down and said, 3 breaths of time have passed. I don't want to waste my breath. Everyone has their own choice. Xian Dao Tian is indeed an immortal. He didn't choose to be suppressed and chose to self-destruct. You, the immortal primordial domain lord, are the current immortal primordial domain lord. I, Su Fong, am not your opponent. You're also a big shot worthy of respect. Although submitting to me will cause you to lose your dignity, only by living can you achieve your goal of becoming an immortal. Your life and death will depend on you. The undying tortoise smiled. Killing an immortal might take some effort, but I don't believe that killing a realm lord will take so much effort as well. Master, let's do it. Since this person is heavily injured, we can use his corpse to cultivate. Huh. The piercing sky demon Venerable also emitted a piercing demonic light. I, the immortal primordial domain lord, didn't expect this. The immortal primordial domain lord suddenly kept his Tao artifact and looked at the 4 experts. He helplessly lowered his head to Su Fong. I choose to submit, then fuse with my shackles. Screech, Su Fong's face didn't change at all. If the immortal primordial domain lord submitted, it would be easier for him to obtain the immortal primordial domain. However, if the immortal primordial domain lord didn't submit, the 4 of them could kill him in less than half an incense's time. Moreover, killing the immortal primordial domain lord was much easier than killing Xian Dao Tian. Therefore, he already expected the immortal primordial domain lord to submit to him. Under the gaze of the 3 big goblin, Su Fong's shackles surged into the immortal primordial domain lord's head. The immortal primordial domain lord's defenses disappeared, and he was forced to accept Su Fong's shackles. At this moment, the Vermilion Emperor and the piercing sky demon Venerable finally absorbed their Tao artifacts into their bodies. Their demonic aura also gradually disappeared. Su Fong retracted his remaining light. All right, order those experts to stop resisting. Settle. The immortal primordial domain lord was indeed an overlord. He decisively followed Su Fang's order and sent out a thought. Not long after, under the suppression of Bai Ling, the nine-headed demon king, the nine-segment earth dragon, and the other big goblin, more than 10 experts with 3 calamity stage heavenly Dao flew over obediently. Su Fang also took down these experts, and the starry sky finally quieted down. Bai Ling smiled and asked, "Brother, according to your character, you should have immediately used the immortal primordial domain lord to sneak into the Xinyuan Empire and work with them from the inside. I can't do that. First, the Jingbei Emperor died. Now, I'm thinking about the heavens. The Xinyuan Empire is not stupid. They will definitely guard against experts from the immortal primordial domain. However, Sister Bai, you reminded me. Soon after, Su Fang summoned the immortal primordial domain lord in front of him. Immediately send an order to the tens of thousands of origin experts who just left the immortal primordial domain. Ask them to return immediately. The immortal primordial domain lord was in a difficult position. It's just that Doichi, Wuji, and the Xinyuan Empire are in charge now. Once they return, the immortal primordial domain will also send people over quickly." Bai Ling was very unhappy. "Listen to my brother. What are you worried about? No matter how many people from the Xinyuan Empire come, we can just kill them. After all, we have already obtained the Wu Tan domain and the Beichen zone. There are countless experts who can deal with the Xinyuan Empire. In addition, there are only 2 immortals left. With so many of us working together, we can fight against the Xinyuan Empire head-on. Do as you say." Su Fang nodded affirmatively. The immortal primordial domain lord could only send orders to the experts who had just left. "Let's go back and deal with Doichi. Wuji, Juk Daozi, and the other experts are still unaware of the situation here. They will probably receive news of the death of the heavens very quickly. I'm just worried that they will ask Doichi to start preparing." Su Fang gave another order, and the group immediately flew towards the immortal primordial domain. Half an incense's time later, the group arrived above the immortal primordial domain. The immortal primordial domain lord immediately sent out orders. Many experts appeared in the world's barrier to welcome him and the group into the immortal primordial domain. They still did not know what had happened to these origin experts. The moment they entered the immortal primordial domain, Su Fang ordered the immortal primordial domain lord immediately activate the Great Array and completely seal the world's barrier. You will stay here and wait for those experts to return. If there are any experts from the Xinyuan Empire or Doichi, they can come in if they want to. Once they are here, use the world's barrier to trap them. We will take down Doichi in the shortest time possible. 1 hour. 1 hour. The immortal primordial domain lord shuddered when he heard that. Whoosh! Su Fang led the big goblin and flew towards the depths of the immortal primordial domain. The immortal primordial domain lord led more than 10 experts, but he was still in disbelief. Helplessly, the immortal primordial domain lord could only bite the bullet and follow Su Fang's orders. A few breaths later, the number 1 power in the immortal primordial domain above the Doichi Dao Hall. This was a righteous Dao power that was much stronger than the Green Lotus Sword sect. It was rumored that it had been established for hundreds of thousands of years. Su Fang ordered the 6 big goblins, the Vermilion Emperor, the 9-section Earth Dragon, the heaven-reaching Demon Venerable, the 9-headed Demon King, the Wooling Goblin, and the Brute Force Demon King. Today, I will give you special permission to eat and kill as you wish. Destroy Doichi for me. If they are not convinced, beat them until they are convinced. Many thanks, Master. The 6 big goblins immediately released their Dao treasures. Su Fang nodded slightly. Also, Doichi has been here for so long. Watch out for the appearance of Dao treasures and the combined power of array formations. There might also be powers from the Dao halls left behind by immortals. However, they will not be a match for all of you. Kill. Boom. 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 6 waves of attacks suddenly appeared above the Doichi Dao Hall along with the 6 big goblins. Destructive and evil Dao treasures were unleashed, as well as demonic auras. Doichi did not react at all. He was not prepared. The huge Dao Hall's barrier was attacked by all sorts of Dao treasures. Chapter 835. The Dao One sect was engulfed by the attacks of the 6 Dao weapons. Sister Bai, you stay here and watch. Doichi might have some kind of power from a great world that was set up by an immortal. Taking down Doichi was just like taking down the Green Lotus Sword sect. As Su Fang grew stronger and conquered more and more small worlds, Su Fang also lost any thoughts of challenging a major power. Bai Ling smiled. I will definitely complete the mission. With me, the Chaos Fairy, around, everything will be fine. Su Fang was also relieved to let Fairy He and Bai Ling stay here. He then flew towards the sky with the Undying Turtle. Soon, they met the immortal primordial domain lord under the world barrier. Su Fang ordered, "This is the undying heavenly lord. He is the one who killed Xian Daotian. Bring me to the depths of the immortal primordial domain. Leave this place to him." Yes. When the immortal primordial domain lord heard that it was the undying turtle who killed Xian Daotian, he wondered how he felt. Before leaving, the immortal primordial domain lord also ordered all the origin realm experts to listen to the undying turtle's orders. Then, he brought Su Fang to the depths of the world. Soon, the two entered the depths of the earth. As they traveled through the rock layer, Su Fang asked, "How long has it been since you inherited the immortal primordial domain?" "More than 200,000 years. The immortal primordial domain lord answered honestly. "Do you know anything about the core of the earth? That is where the origin power of the world is concentrated. It is impossible to enter the core of the earth. None of the past immortal primordial domain lords were able to enter the depths of the earth. In other words, no one knows if there are any world fragments in the earth's core." What is a world fragment? The immortal primordial domain lord was confused. After Su Fang heard this, he felt that the world fragment was a supreme treasure. The immortal primordial domain probably did not have any world fragments. When they reached the depths of the earth's core, the two started to find it difficult to move. When they got close to the core, it was almost impossible to enter the depths of the earth's core. This was Su Fang's destination. "Although you have submitted to me, you will still be the immortal primordial domain lord in the future. I also want to fuse with the immortal primordial domain's world power. Now that I have control over the Beichen zone, the Wu-Tan domain, and the immortal primordial domain, my next target will be the primordial god domain. Once I control the 4 small worlds, I'll gather them in the same galaxy and establish a force in the same galaxy. When that day arrives, you, the immortal Grand Mist Realm Lord, will also obtain many benefits. What I want is a stretch of astral river while you are still the overlord of this world. However, I can tell you that it's extremely difficult for minor worlds to fuse together. For example, how many years would it take for the core of an earth to fuse with your heart's blood? I need to ascend to a great world as soon as possible. A senior told me that when cultivators go to a great world, they should focus on cultivation there. Furthermore, only immortals, or even more powerful entities, can truly wield world power in the boundless starry sky. Alright, now, use your autonomous realm power to gather the origin power and essence of the surrounding autonomous realms. I'm going to start fusing with the immortal primordial world. Okay, let's do it." These words still left the immortal Grand Mist Realm Lord confused. He immediately followed the order and gathered large amounts of immortal primordial world's essence. It was majestic. Even 10,000 cultivators wouldn't be able to absorb all the energy from the Earth's core. This was the vastness of the world. Su Fang released 11 Yang Meridians and used the 9 Yang 9 transformations to absorb the immortal primordial world's essence. He also dripped a lot of fresh blood and fused it with the Earth's core. However, this fusion was only superficial. Even if it took 1,000,000 years, it wouldn't be able to truly fuse with the Earth's core. The immortal Grand Mist Realm Lord obediently formed hand seals at the side and gathered a shocking amount of energy for Su Fang. To be able to survive the combined attacks of the Vermilion Emperor and the heavenly piercing demon Venerable with their Tao treasures meant that the immortal Grand Mist Realm Lord was an existence that stood at the peak of the countless Realm Lords. If it was an ordinary Realm Lord, he he would have long been killed by the two big goblins. Initially, they thought that they would have to kill the immortal Grand Mist Realm Lord. Who would have thought that they would be able to suppress him alive? During this period, Su Fong also secretly contacted the Green Feather Monarch, Li Ziqing, and the Lord of Five Poisons. They knew that they had successfully ambushed the Xinyuan Empire's army and killed tens of thousands of experts in the material galaxy, where the mortal Emperor world used to be. The three giants also received news that Su Fong had killed Xian Daotian and taken control of the immortal primordial world. This was even more exciting. They couldn't believe that Su Fong's mission was so smooth. Su Fong asked the three giants to hide first and move the mortal Emperor world to a deeper part of the nebula to avoid the Xinyuan Empire's revenge. However, the sect leaders sent a new message saying that the Xinyuan Empire suddenly stopped searching for the mortal Emperor world in the Nebula Galaxy. They had retreated and gathered in the galaxy where the mortal Emperor world used to be. It seems like the primordial god world has already taken control of Xan Daotian's death. They have lost their advantage and have to stabilize themselves step by step. The tables had turned. Previously, Su Fong was at a disadvantage. However, now that he had obtained the immortal primordial world and killed Xian Daotian, he was gradually reaching the height of the Xinyuan Empire. With this, the mortal Emperor world was no longer at a disadvantage. The immortal primordial world Lord immediately sent a message saying that a large number of immortal primordial world experts had returned to the immortal primordial world. There were indeed experts from Doichi and the Xinyuan Empire who had returned. This was especially so for Doichi's Master Limitless. He probably knew that Doichi's Dao field was under attack. He was anxious to see the immortal primordial world Lord and enter the world. However, he didn't know that what awaited him wasn't the immortal primordial world Lord, but the sealed immortal primordial world and the incomparably powerful Undying Tortoise. The Undying Tortoise also sent a message saying that Doichi's Master Limitless had brought countless experts over. They were furious and wanted to attack the immortal primordial world. If the world's barrier wasn't opened, they would force their way into the world. Su Fong asked the Undying Tortoise to wait. If Master Limitless wanted to make a move, he would let him be. After all, the world's barrier was sealed. Only a few giants could enter. Most cultivators couldn't go above the barrier. Even if Master Limitless brought Doichi's experts into the world, he wouldn't be able to save Doichi. Moreover, he would be blocked by the Undying Tortoise. Unknowingly, this stalemate lasted for several years. In the end, just as Su Fong expected, Master Limitless brought a large number of experts and was forced to leave. It turned out that the six big goblin had already broken through Doichi's defenses. They had killed more than 100,000 disciples and suppressed hundreds of thousands of Doichi disciples of different cultivation levels. They had also obtained all the resources of Doichi's Dao field, suppressing hundreds of thousands of disciples. This time, Su Fong had profited greatly. He would let the big goblin control these people first. When he merged with the immortal primordial world to a certain extent, he would definitely restrain these people and make them his subordinates. The immortal primordial world Lord probably knew about this as well. He was even more dejected and helpless as he watched Su Fong fuse with the immortal primordial world. He even realized that Su Fong's speed of merging with the immortal primordial world had surpassed his. It was truly unbelievable. During this period of time, he had been merging with the immortal primordial world without restraint. The injuries from the battle with Xian Daotian had been recovering continuously. His cultivation level was also constantly reaching the peak of Immortal Transformation Stage 7. It wouldn't be long before he broke through to Immortal Transformation Stage 8. For this, Su Fong increased his speed once again. In order to make the immortal primordial world Lord work for him, he also took out the immortal's essence. The immortal primordial world Lord was naturally overjoyed to receive the immortal's power. This was a treasure that he couldn't refine. Only immortals of the greater worlds could do something like this. No cultivator or expert in the mortal world could shake the immortal's power. Another 2 years passed. Su Fong and the immortal primordial world Lord left the Earth's core and came to the surface. He ordered, "Doichi has been destroyed. Next, you will bring a large number of experts to pacify the various forces in the immortal primordial world. Focus on the forces related to the Doichi and the Xinyuan Empire. I believe there are many such forces in the immortal primordial world. I can already vaguely sense that there are many auras related to the Doichi and the Xinyuan Empire in the immortal primordial world." The immortal primordial world Lord bowed. The immortal primordial world and the primordial god world formed an alliance 1,000,000 years ago. There are indeed many forces related to each other in the two lesser worlds. If these forces resist, how should we deal with them? You will go with the big goblin. If any forces are stubborn, just suppress them. Try not to kill them. Just suppress them all. After all, I already have 4 lesser worlds and need a large number of slaves. I won't reject anyone. There are about a dozen such forces. So what? So what if there are a dozen forces and millions of cultivators? I can't tolerate sand in my eyes. Those who work for me will receive resources that only immortals have. If they are my enemies, why should I be courteous to them? I need to focus on dealing with the Xinyuan Empire. Your subordinate will do it now. The immortal primordial world lord received the order and left. At the same time, Su Feng also asked the heavenly piercing demon Venerable and the 9-headed demon king to follow him. He wasn't worried that the immortal primordial world lord wasn't strong enough. He wanted to show the immortal primordial world lord his determination to become the overlord of this star river. Su Feng appeared in the sky above the Doichi's dojo again. Bai Ling and the Wuling goblin rushed over. Below them were the hundreds of thousands of Doichi disciples who had been shackled. The undying turtle also rushed over. Su Feng first used the power of his realm to absorb the essence of the limitless Tao that Doichi had accumulated over countless years into his body. Then, he created a brand new barrier that quickly replaced the old Doichi. From now on, this is the Heaven Crossing sect. It is no longer the Doichi. Chi. Unexpectedly, a shocking aura shot out from his body at this moment. He hurriedly took a look and couldn't stop smiling. It was the 12th Yang Meridian. He had successfully formed it at this moment. This was great and just in time. He was about to break through Immortal Transformation Stage 7 and step into Immortal Transformation Stage 8. The undying turtle arrived in the sky. After setting up the formation, he started to check the space of the Yang Meridian. It turned out that he had absorbed the immortal primordial world's essence and origin power without restraint. This caused the 11 Yang Meridians to be filled with the power of his realm. In addition to the pure Yang energy and the mysterious origin power that he had absorbed from the golden lotus stone flower, the power of his realm in the 11 Yang Meridians had increased by several times. He estimated this was the reason why the 12th Yang Meridian was formed so quickly. Could it be that the fusion of the world fragment, the Yang Meridian, and the pure Yang energy will help the 9 Yang 9 transformations and speed up the formation of the Yang Meridian? Amidst his surprise, he gradually calmed down. He wanted to find a reason why the 12th Yang Meridian was formed. However, it was too late. A vast heavenly tribulation surged from the sky. The first stage of the heavenly tribulation was about to descend. Su Feng still gave half of the energy to the undying turtle. He shattered a portion of the remaining energy and let the rest strike his palm and enter his body through his right arm. Finally, he attacked the golden lotus stone flower. He still wanted to use the heavenly tribulation to attack the golden lotus stone flower. This was because this was the only way he could fuse with the golden lotus stone flower and grasp the secrets of the golden lotus stone flower. It was a pity that he was not an immortal. It was a pity that he didn't know anything about the golden lotus stone flower. The clumsy bird flies first. Since he was lacking, he had to think of ways to make up for it. The heavenly tribulation attacking the golden lotus stone flower was the only way he could think of. It was also the only way he could control it. He and the undying turtle maintained this state until the 8th stage of the heavenly tribulation entered their bodies at the same time. The heavenly tribulation's aura gradually weakened. The blood-colored heavenly tribulation's power was fierce and domineering. The last time, it attacked the mysterious golden lotus stone flower from his left hand. In the next second, Su Fong welcomed the familiar power of advancement. It swept through his body, making him feel as light as a feather. Chapter 836. The moment he stepped into Immortal Realm Level 8, his entire body underwent a qualitative change. Look, please move. Furthermore, he would also have a 12th yang meridian. His overall cultivation speed would rise to another level, and his physical body would become even stronger. While his body was still evolving, Su Fong immediately checked to see if there were any changes to the world fragment. Changes it was still ice cold, as if it wasn't an existence of this world, impossible to merge with. Fortunately, the world origin force that leaked out was slightly more than before, and the shape of the world origin force looked like lotus leaves. In short, there were still some changes. At the very least, with a bit more world origin power, Su Fong's cultivation would improve. He then examined the changes in his body. The blood threads of the Black Lotus true body were thicker. Most of them could circulate true qi and blood. If this continued, they would replace the meridians sooner or later. Unfortunately, it was still unable to fuse with the purple qi law spirit in his right arm. The dragon taming wood left arm looked perfect, and when he activated the wood elemental spiritualization, his left arm could instantly turn into wood. With his current wood elemental ability, he was invincible in this small world. His divine aperture had become sturdier, and his young infant had become much stronger. Inside his golden core of origin, the demonic path power that he had obtained from cultivating the heavenly demon scripture, as well as a portion of the monster clan's power. Although the powers were complex, the golden origin core contained an astonishing amount of 9 yang qi, so the various powers did not reject each other and could fuse together within the golden origin core. This was one of Su Fong's great abilities. In this vast world, he was definitely the first person to be able to combine the powers of the Yao race, the demon race, the human race, and the spirit race. After mastering the transformation of his fleshly body, he began to cultivate the Tao of the myriad arts, the illusory fire cloud, the 9 transformations of the 9 suns, the Heaven Devil Codex, the Saint Emperor God origin scripture, the limitless Taoist magic, the Hell Blood Wolf smoke, and the 5 poisons true energy. Of course, the most important ones were the ethereal 10,000 laws Tao, the illusory fire cloud, the 9 suns 9 transformations, and the heavenly demon scripture. There is also the mysterious woman's heavenly secret life shrinking technique. In terms of supernatural powers, Su Fong cared most about the 2 supernatural powers he had created, the Yin-Yang Rakshasa sword and the Dragon Snake scroll. As for the magic treasures, there were also some changes. For example, Su Fong had obtained a large amount of origin source stones, soul essences, and other resources. After understanding the overall situation, he began to think of ways to strengthen himself. He refined all sorts of world gemstones, even resources from Great World's immortal blood essence and immortal fruits. For example, immortal pills, immortal fruits, and immortal blood essences were the 3 resources that Su Fong was constantly fusing with. The method of assimilation was the same as before. He would make a large number of cuts on his body and use his perfect black lotus body to assimilate and devour them. The effects were even more shocking than cultivating. Su Fong's cultivation was based on 2 aspects. One was internal cultivation, focusing on the 9 transformations of the 9 suns. Using pure yang power to drive his body, he could absorb power and cultivate various energy arts. External cultivation was to cut open a bloody wound on one's body, allowing the perfected physical body to directly devour the various great world's resources. Combining the internal and external was the method Su Fong used to cultivate from the beginning. Combining it like this, it was like Su Fong had a clone. He could cultivate the internal and external at ease. The undying tortoise was also sitting cross-legged in the distance, cultivating. Su Fong naturally gave it many resources, most of which were the essence of the great world. In the primordial god realm, which was relatively far away from the immortal primordial realm, the Xinyuan Empire had many imperial cities, but in the depths of the earth, there was an endless palace. At this moment, there was also a golden palace floating in the depths of a secret realm. Outside the palace, greetings, heretic crown prince. There were over 1,000 people gathered here. Each of them was a peerless powerhouse with 3 calamity realms. A portion of them were civil and military officials of the empire, similar to Qin Yuan Ho in the past. Suddenly, a few maids and eunuchs came into the crowd. Many experts bowed to a young man who had lost his left arm and was wearing a golden robe and a feathered crown. Heretic Crown Prince. What heretic crown prince? He was clearly the honorable Tao disciple of the immortal sealing sect, Prince Shui. He was received politely by many people, but most people, especially the imperial princes, treated him coldly and even snorted disdainfully. Shuelong and the crown prince of Great Qing were also by Prince Shui's side. Shuelong secretly glared and said unconvinced, "These people are courting death. They think the patriarch is sincerely working for the Xinyuan Empire. Suppress your anger. Don't be anxious." Prince Shui, who was already the heretic crown prince, looked around indifferently with a smile. He came to one side and waited with the people beside him. When the 4 great emperors appeared, other than some important people, everyone else left. People like Shuelong and the crown prince of Great Qing could only leave. Other than the 4 great princes, the current emperor of the Xinyuan Empire also came to the highest point of the hall. Below him sat the 4 great princes. As for the crown prince, princes, marquis, and other important people of the Xinyuan Empire, they could only stand in the hall. Everyone bowed to the Xinyuan Emperor, Emperor Wujiang. After the emperor waved his hand, he muttered, "Today, everyone gathered here probably knows that the Doichi Immortal Venerable Xandao Tian has been killed. The Immortal Primordial Realm has also started to seal the world barrier. Even the Doichi's Master Limitless and a large number of experts under him are unable to return to the Doichi realm. According to them, the Doichi realm has been destroyed. All of this was caused by a cultivator called Su Fong. I guess everyone is familiar with him, especially the North King. Su Fong." Everyone in the hall was shocked. 2 people had the biggest reaction. One was the great Emperor Dipper, who sat below the emperor. The other was the heretical crown prince. Everyone was discussing. They did not believe that the Doichi realm had been destroyed. They did not want an immortal from the lower realm to die, just like that. Prince Shui's heart was in turmoil. He did not care about what others were saying. "Su Fong, I have a whole new level of respect for you. You actually killed Xandao Tian. Good. How did you do it? You are not strong enough to deal with an immortal." After a while, one of the great princes said, "What we did before was beneficial to our empire. We lost Senior North King, but at least we still have the support of the Immortal Primordial Realm. Now that the Immortal Primordial Realm has sealed itself, it is clear that they want to stay out of this. Moreover, the Immortal Primordial Realm Lord has probably reached some kind of agreement with Su Fong. They actually stopped contacting our empire. The Emperor has already decided to officially send troops to that nebula. Everyone, go back and start preparing." The hall instantly fell silent. Everyone was shocked. They turned and left the hall. I did not expect Su Fong to be the one who really stole the Immortal Primordial Realm from the Xinyuan Empire. This really surprised me. So, Su Fong had already come to this part of the Milky Way when he was still in the Immortal Sealing Sect. I have already obtained the power of purification from the Xinyuan Empire's Immortal Jing Sui Feng. I am about to break through the last realm and ascend to the greater realm. But I will not ascend now. Since the Xinyuan Empire is going to use all their strength to deal with Su Fong, then I will have to watch Su Fong get killed before I can ascend with peace of mind." Among the crowd, Prince Shui, who had an ugly expression in the hall, was now beaming with joy under the support of Shuelong, the crown prince, and the others. Next, the former disciples of the Venerable Tao would fight in this part of the Milky Way again. Prince Shui was obviously looking forward to this day. Immortal Primordial Realm. In the sky, Su Fong and the Undying Tortoise met. Su Fong, who had reached Immortal Realm Stage 8, had become even more powerful. The injuries caused by the Heart Tao Heaven had also healed. Flying Immortal Realm. He looked at the sky and stepped on the void. There were still Immortal Realm Stage 9 and Immortal Realm Stage 10 before he could enter the last realm of the Lesser Realm. In reality, at Immortal Realm Stage 8, he already had the ability to surpass most of the Realm Masters. There were probably only a handful of Realm Masters who could match up to him. Immortal Realm Stage 8. He had already reached the peak of the Lesser Realm. As long as he stepped into Immortal Realm Stage 9 and Stage 10, his ability would surpass any cultivator in the Lesser Realm. He appeared in the former Deutsche Realm, which was now within the boundary of the Sky Crossing sect. The Realm Master of the Immortal Primordial Realm was already waiting with a large number of Origin Source cultivators. Clearly, he had sensed that Su Fang's ability had increased again. The Realm Master's expression changed. Su Fang looked at the Realm Master of the Immortal Primordial Realm and said, "How many strong martial artists and their resources have been suppressed this time?" According to Master's decree, more than half of the forces have been destroyed. Millions of cultivators have submitted. However, there are only a few tens of thousands of Immortal Realm cultivators. They are currently waiting in a nearby area. The other forces have also chosen to submit. Now, there are countless forces in the Immortal Primordial Realm, but none of them dare to cause trouble. Then gather these tens of thousands of Immortal Realm strong martial artists. Also, you can send tens of thousands of strong martial artists. I want 100,000 Immortal Realm cultivators to follow me to the Mortal Emperor world in a year's time. Then, we will face the Xinyuan Empire head-on. Then, what else do I need to prepare? You don't need to participate in this war. What you need to do is to protect the Immortal Primordial Realm like before. Don't let any accidents happen, and let the Xinyuan Empire obtain or destroy the Immortal Primordial Realm. However, there is no need to worry. The Xinyuan Empire won't have the energy to deal with the Immortal Primordial Realm. I can gather more men to follow Master into battle. Give me some time, and I can gather hundreds of thousands of men. That's not necessary. If you can conserve your strength, don't waste it. Moreover, I have brought 300,000 strong martial artists from the Beichen Zone and the Wu-Tan domain. Together with the strength of the Mortal Emperor world, hundreds of thousands of strong martial artists will be enough to attack the Xinyuan Empire. However, the Xinyuan Empire has more than 1 million soldiers. In addition, all the internal forces listen to their orders. I estimate that there will be millions or even tens of millions of people participating in the war. There is nothing to be afraid of. My only enemies are that immortal called Jing Sui Feng and another immortal. That immortal is called Immortal Master Lung Xian. He is an exceptional immortal from a great world. His strength is far superior to Jing Sui Feng, Jing Bei Huang, and Xian Daotian. You know him. At this moment, Su Fang was pleasantly surprised. The Immortal Primordial Domain Lord said honestly, "I have met him a few times. Xian Daotian introduced me to him. This Immortal Master Lung Xian comes from the Immortal Ao Great World. Coincidentally, the previous Domain Lords of the Immortal Primordial Domain all ascended to the Immortal Ao Great World. According to Xian Daotian, he and Jing Sui Feng invited Immortal Master Lung Xian to come to the lower domain. It seems like they are here for some secret treasure passed down from the Mortal Emperor world. All right, tell me everything you know." It was an unexpected gain to be able to obtain more secrets about Immortal Master Lung Xian and Jing Sui Feng from the Immortal Primordial Domain Lord. 1 year later, the Immortal Primordial Domain's world barrier suddenly opened. 100,000 strong martial artists angrily flew out with their auras. Su Fang brought the big goblin and released his control power. He brought the 100,000 strong martial artists and slowly flew to the other side of the Star River. At this moment, Su Fang had already informed the Lord of 5 Poisons, Li Ziqing, Green Feather Monarch, and many other strong martial artists to start moving the Mortal Emperor world out of the star region deep in the nebula. Once Xian Daotian died, the Mortal Emperor world would no longer need to hide. Because of the early preparations, the Mortal Emperor world would probably appear from the star region behind the Xinyuan Empire soon. During this period, Su Fong merged the power of many immortal fruits with impotence pills and distributed them to the 100,000 strong martial artists. After that, he also started to make use of this long journey to cultivate. He wanted to reach the strength of Immortal Transformation Stage 8 as soon as possible. Chapter 837. Just as Su Fong led 100,000 experts from the immortal primordial world to the Xinyuan Empire, a huge planet was slowly leaving the nebulous Star River under the migration of thousands of Big Goblin. Li Haojie floated in front of thousands of Big Goblin, releasing a layer of blood curse aura. Clearly, this aura allowed him to control more than 3,000 Big Goblin. Therefore, the entire human emperor world was rapidly moving toward the primordial god world. Brotherly, several experts flew over from the nebulous Star River. One of them released a small amount of Dao Treasure's power, allowing him to reach the speed of teleportation in the nebulous Star River. The cultivator leading the experts was Su Jianhua. Li Haojie nodded. Did you find anything? The Xinyuan Empire's million soldiers are stationed outside the shattered nebulous Star River. They formed a large number of attack formations and are in a constant state of battle. The Xinyuan Empire has more than 1 million soldiers. According to the news from Master, they probably have tens of millions of troops. Clearly, they know that Master has taken down the immortal primordial world, so they don't dare to send their troops to the primordial god world. Inform the seniors of this news. See you later. With an astonishing momentum, Su Jianhua and several experts flew towards the moving human sovereign world behind them. Brother Fong, you're very capable. Back when you were in the Celestial Sealing Sect, you were able to capture the Big Goblin with your ordinary cultivation and compete with experts. Now, you actually have 4 small worlds. Once you take down the Xinyuan Empire, you'll be the first realm lord to control 5 small worlds in this nebulous Star River. Li Haojie's eyes flashed with a smile that was even more profound than the nebulous Star River. Then, Saintess Ao Jun and some Big Goblin appeared by his side to help him move the human emperor world to the maximum. A few years passed. In the empty nebulous Star River between the primordial god world and the immortal primordial world, the 100,000 soldiers were approaching the primordial god world at a very normal speed. Their speed was estimated to be between the Tribulation Realm and the Ascension Realm. There was still a long way to go before they could teleport. After all, there were many people. An army of 100,000 soldiers couldn't travel freely in the nebulous Star River like individual cultivators. At this speed, it would take a few more years to reach the primordial god world. However, some big shots quickly flew over from the primordial god world. It turned out that Bai Ling had brought some experts to scout out the Xinyuan Empire's movements in advance. They had probably found something and were rushing over to join them. With Bai Ling's help, in addition to the powerhouses who had an incomparable understanding of the primordial god world, he estimated that this trip would be a great harvest. Su Fong sat cross-legged in the center, leading 100,000 experts as if they had fallen into a deep sleep. In reality, he had been cultivating all this time. Furthermore, as soon as Bai Ling appeared, he opened his eyes and instantly leaped through space to meet up with Bai Ling in front of the army. Bai Ling said anxiously, "The primordial god world seems to know everything about the immortal primordial world. They know that we are going to attack the primordial god world. Now, they have tens of thousands of soldiers, and they're forming a formation in front of the primordial god world. They are obviously waiting for us. There is no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. In addition, the primordial god world and the immortal primordial world are on good terms. The Xinyuan Empire must have established forces in the immortal primordial world, or they must have placed troops there. Brother, since you have already thought of this, why don't you ask the immortal primordial world lord to come out and pull out those nails one by one? We can't kill them all, and we can't remove them all. Who knows how many troops the Xinyuan Empire has placed in the immortal primordial world? If the immortal primordial world lord knew, he would definitely tell me. Fortunately, these people can't do anything. Sister Bai, I will have to trouble you to pay attention to the immortal primordial world's movements." Don't worry. Bai Ling brought those experts and left in an instant. There are still a few years before we can reach the primordial god world. During this time, the primordial god world is probably preparing for war. Once the human sovereign world moves out, the flames of war will burn this nebula. He sat down cross-legged again and slowly advanced with the army in the nebula. He was also cultivating with all his might. Fortunately, the 12th Yang Meridian had been born, and he was cultivating the 9 Yang transformations. His cultivation speed had increased again, and he had also swallowed a lot of resources. He had reached the full cultivation level of the Ascendant Transformation Realm. Soon, with his cultivation speed, he would definitely enter the 9th level of the Ascendant Transformation Realm. The 100,000 experts had also refined the resources given to them previously. Many of them had started to condense immortal spiritual chi in their bodies. This was the best opportunity to help them pass the last great tribulation of the heavenly calamity and obtain an immortal spiritual body before they ascended. In order to increase the overall strength of the army and to make these 100,000 experts work for him, Su Fong took out some immortal pills. After some effort, he separated the immortal pills into countless small pieces and merged them with the impotence pills. They became impotence pills that had the aura of a great realm. After the 100,000 experts obtained the impotence pills, their auras changed significantly. I can vaguely feel the power of faith surging from their bodies. Everything is not in vain. Suppressing them is not difficult. The key is to make them submit wholeheartedly. In the midst of cultivation, Su Fong, who was in control of the Milky Way, could feel the shocking changes in each of the 100,000 experts. In order to let these experts fight with the Xinyuan Empire face to face, Su Fong decided to impart the Holy Emperor Divine Origin Scripture to them. This was what it meant to know one's enemy. Obtaining the Holy Emperor Divine Origin Scripture made all the experts in disbelief. This was a supreme cultivation technique from the Xinyuan Empire's royal family. It was famous in the Milky Way. How could Su Fong have mastered it? This caused many people to view Su Fong as a celestial being. They couldn't understand how a cultivator who had cultivated for hundreds of years could possess abilities that cultivators of the mortal realm could only look up to. While raising the 100,000 experts, Su Fong also separated the immortal pills into large pieces in the small heaven and earth immortal gourd and gave them to the big goblin to swallow. One immortal pill was only enough for 5 to 6 big goblin to swallow. Among them, Zhu Huang was especially powerful. He could swallow 1/3 of the immortal pills in one go. As expected of the ancient pig horse king, Zhu Huang's current realm and strength had reached the peak of 3 heavenly disasters. Of course, the most terrifying one was the undying heavenly venerable and the undying tortoise. This guy could swallow an immortal pill almost directly. Similar to Su Fong, he was even more abnormal than Su Fong. Su Fong cut an immortal pill into countless pieces and implanted them into his body. The undying tortoise swallowed an immortal pill in one gulp. Clearly, in terms of strength and physical strength, Su Fong, Bai Ling, Zhu Huang, and the other big goblins could not compare to the undying tortoise. Originally, Su Fong planned to use the few immortal pills he had obtained until he ascended to the great world. But thinking about it, there was no tomorrow. So how could there be a future? Only by grasping today could he decide tomorrow and create the future. It was true that the immortal pills were precious, but they could help him control this galaxy. So what if he used them? The resources were inexhaustible. During this time, Su Fong secretly let the Blood Ghost True Demon swallow the immortal pills. The Blood Ghost True Demon's ability was probably the most terrifying in Su Fong's hands. It was not afraid of poison and could release a unique poison that even immortals were afraid of. Its combat strength was also at the peak, and it had a near-immortal body. This time, the Blood Ghost True Demon would be the key to his victory in the battle against the Xinyuan Empire. Little did he know, when Su Fong felt a familiar emperor's chi from the gales in front of him, he immediately looked forward and could see the primordial god world clearly. He was finally close. He estimated that he would be able to reach the primordial god world's barrier in 2 years. Using his great perfection ability, he could clearly see that there were nearly 1,000,000 soldiers around the barrier. The Xinyuan Empire was completely surrounded. Soon, the experts from the Xinyuan Empire would also sense the 100,000 soldiers. Sect Master and Senior Peng will probably take about 10 years to move the Mortal Emperor world out. He contacted the Mortal Emperor world. Soon, he had a telepathic conversation with the Lord of Five Poisons. The Mortal Emperor world was a huge planet and a world. It was unbelievably fast to be able to move out continuously in the past few years. After all, it was moving a small world. Why don't I sneak into the primordial god world in the next few years and go to the core of the planet and take the opportunity to start fusing with the world's essence? When I master a large amount of the primordial god world's world power, won't I be able to display more amazing abilities in the Xinyuan Empire? Since he had to wait for the Mortal Emperor world for a few years, Su Feng decisively made a decision. After waiting for a while, Bai Ling came to the army. Leaving Bai Ling in charge of the army, Su Feng flew towards the primordial god world alone at a speed comparable to passing through a door. In just 10 breaths, he crossed the cold river of stars and arrived in front of the barrier of the primordial god world. The entire barrier of the primordial god world was in a half-sealed state. There were probably many experts guarding the barrier. Su Feng activated the world grand magic and the ethereal enlightenment. It took a lot of effort to pass through the barrier of the world and enter the god world. He then flew toward the primordial god world. He had to be careful because there were 2 immortals here. In addition, the Xinyuan Empire was extremely powerful. He could not rule out the possibility of being discovered. In order to hide himself well, he chose a natural stronghold. The natural stronghold was a moving forest. Su Feng carefully sensed that there was an indescribable natural force in the space where the natural stronghold was located, which made the forest constantly move. It took him an hour to reach the depths of the Earth's core. He released the Wooling Goblin and hid it in the Demon King's aura. It followed him to the core of the Earth's core. There are many runes with the Holy Emperor Divine Origin Scripture's aura planted in the depths of the Earth's core. I wonder how many realm lords of the Xinyuan Empire left them behind after generations of merging with the world's power. Many of the cores also have a strong blood qi. The cores of the Zhuotian realm, Wutan realm, Beichen zone, and immortal primordial realm haven't reached such a level of fusion. The Xinyuan Empire is indeed extraordinary. It has already merged with the Xinyuan Empire to such a degree, more than half of all the small worlds. If this continues, the experts of the Xinyuan Empire's Jing clan will definitely merge with the Xinyuan Empire to an astonishing degree. These runes and blood qi can't be removed. If I touch them, I'll definitely be discovered by the origin experts of the Xinyuan Empire. There should be a lot of them around the Earth's core. Su Feng's heart was shaken when he saw the large amount of merged energy. The Wooling Goblin was even more careful. It went deeper into the Earth's core, where there was no merged aura of the Xinyuan Empire. It took a while for it to reach the Earth's core. More than half of the Earth's core was filled with the merged aura of the Xinyuan Empire. Fortunately, there was no merged aura in the Earth's core, but there were some runes sealed here. The ultimate goal of the realm lords of the Xinyuan Empire was probably to merge with the Earth's core before merging with the Earth's core. In the end, they would merge with the entire small world and become a cultivator who could truly control the world's power, just like the mysterious woman said. The Wooling Goblin spent a lot of effort and only managed to reach 1/3 of the Earth's core. It was too tired. It would probably take a few more years to reach the center of the Earth's core. Anyway, Su Feng had already used his world mystique to sense that there were no world fragments in the Earth's core. He immediately let the Wooling Goblin's body change. It coiled up like a cage, and Su Feng sat in the middle and released his essence blood into the Earth's core. Chapter 838. The Xinyuan Empire had yet to integrate the core of the planet, so they only controlled the core of the planet. Using blood to integrate the core of the planet would actually be discovered by the Xinyuan Empire. However, by the time they arrived, the war might have already ended. Activating the power of the world, Su Fong began to devour a large amount of the world's essence and the world's force in the core of the planet. With the help of the Wuling Goblin, the speed of his integration with the core of the Xinyuan Empire doubled. Doubled? What kind of speed was this? Originally, Su Fong's cultivation speed was already unparalleled. Now it doubled again. This was truly unprecedented. What was the use of the Wuling Goblin? Of course, it was transformed from a mountain ridge. Naturally, it was a monster of the earth element. It could be said that no matter how powerful an earth element cultivator was, they could not compare to 1/5 of its ability. Even Su Fong blushed with shame. He had the earth element ability of the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. Even so, the last time he obtained the fragment of the world, and this time he sneaked into the core of the planet in a very short time, were all the abilities of the Wuling Goblin. Su Fong only played a small role in this. In order to cooperate with Su Fong, the Wuling Goblin released an amazing earth element ability from its demon body. It gradually spiritualized the earth element around the core of the planet bit by bit. It seemed to make the strange rocks in the core of the planet become a part of its body. It was too much to say, but at least it allowed its power to integrate with the core of the planet to a certain extent. Under such integration, Su Fong could directly absorb the world's essence and force in the core of the planet through its body. Wouldn't it be a natural thing to do? Therefore, the speed of his integration with the Xinyuan Empire was raised to the extreme like never before. In the depths of the planet's core, there was no luster and no temperature. However, gradually, around a rock demon body, where the Wuling Goblin was entrenched, there was a burning aura of the world. It turned out that after a large amount of world's essence and force poured in and was absorbed by Su Fong, its aura and world's essence reached the extreme state. Moreover, the Wuling Goblin's demon body was originally the color of black stone. However, at this time, when Su Fongda was absorbing the world's essence and force through its demon body showed a faint golden-white color. Especially the world's essence absorbed by the Wuling Goblin's demon body automatically integrated. The Wuling Goblin was surprised. "Master, I don't know why. I can absorb the world's essence of the Xinyuan Empire at a very fast speed too. I just realized that it's because of you. You're absorbing world energy." In truth, Su Fong had also noticed this change. This subordinate's spiritual body is not like humans who can cultivate at will. Even if I can absorb the world's power of the primordial god world, my speed will not reach such a shocking level. Back in the immortal melody world, this subordinate lived for tens of thousands of years and went to the planet's core several times, but did not absorb much world's power. Then what's going on? This requires Master to explain. However, this subordinate feels that all of this seems to be a fusion with Master. It is through Master's ability that the world's essence is naturally added to this subordinate's body. Is that so? Strange. In fact, Su Fong did not care before. After all, he was the one who borrowed the Wuling Goblin's spiritual body. First, he petrified the planet's core. Then he absorbed the world's essence. During this process, the Wuling Goblin could naturally absorb the world's power. But now, he slowly focused his attention on his surroundings. His senses penetrated and covered himself, the Wuling Goblin, and the surrounding planet's core. The world's essence in the planet's core constantly flowed into the Wuling Goblin's body and was then absorbed by him. After he absorbed it, a mysterious divine power was released, which allowed the Wuling Goblin to absorb the world's power quickly. The reason was indeed on him. Following this mysterious divine power, he sensed the 12 yang meridians in his body. So it was because of the yang meridians. The yang meridians were formed by pure yang energy and pure yin energy. It also came from a 9 yang 9 transformations. The yin and yang energy seemed to be the most mysterious energy at the beginning of the world. It also had a certain connection with the world's essence and origin power. All of this seemed to be caused by the yin and yang energy. The world's essence that entered the depths of the yang meridians was suddenly pleasantly surprised. The origin power from the golden lotus stone flower seemed to be releasing even more, dazzling the moment he absorbed the world's essence. Could it be that the world's fragments and the world's essence are related to the world's mysterious energy? Could it be that the key to truly fusing the world's fragments is the world's essence that also comes from the vast world? The world's cultivation is very long. Many world lords have fused with small worlds, but have not truly fused them. Even the Xinyuan Empire is the same. I cannot rush it. In the future, I will use the world's power and the yin and yang energy to fuse with the world's fragments and fuse with the golden lotus stone flower. The reason why the Wuling Goblin was able to absorb the world's essence was actually the mysterious power of the yang meridians in his body. It also contained the yin and yang energy, the world's fragments, and so on. Of course, to truly decipher the reason, he would have to wait until the future when he truly understood the 9 yang 9 transformations, the world's fragments, and the true meaning of cultivation. Since that was the case, he would let the Wuling Goblin absorb the world's essence without restraint. A human and a demon were in the depths of the world, madly fusing with the world. At this moment, in the Xinyuan Empire, in the boundless territory, there were countless imperial cities built by the Xinyuan Empire, as well as feudal vassals. A large number of soldiers and cultivators surged out from these imperial cities. Even the cultivation forces established in the primordial god world began to send out a large number of cultivators. These cultivators were all between the tribulation realm and the flying immortal realm. The ascendant transformation realm was the backbone, and almost all of them were ascendant transformation realm cultivators. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that the sky was filled with locusts pouncing on their prey. Thrones appeared in the sky one after another. Those who could use the thrones were all vassals. A large number of spirit beasts also appeared from all directions, dragging thrones behind them. Empires and dynasties were also common in other small worlds. However, the only empire with such power that covered the entire small world was probably the Xinyuan Empire. In the depths of the earth, in the primordial god imperial city, there were also tens of thousands of soldiers in the surroundings. They were leaving the imperial city with various generals. There were also thrones floating above them. There were more than a dozen factions. The largest 4 factions were the 4 great emperors. Then there were the princes and marquises. My lord, this is a rare sight. There are millions of soldiers and countless cultivators. The great Emperor Dipper was overseeing one of the factions. He sat on the largest throne, and there were hundreds of thrones behind him. On a throne very close to him was the former disciple of the immortal bestowment sect, the current crown prince of the heretical path, Prince Shui. When the former members of the crown prince faction saw that the world was filled with soldiers and cultivators, and that their cultivation and strength were all above theirs, they couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Prince Shui coldly shouted, "Calm down. How ignorant." Shui Lung and a few other experts of the Shui family came over, their gazes ferocious. "Patriarch, this time we have to seize this opportunity to kill Su Fang. Back then, he killed our Shui family members. This debt of blood must be repaid with blood. Today is different from the past. Su Fang's strength is unfathomable. Back then, I was careless and lost my left arm because of that. Furthermore, he doesn't come with good intentions. Now that I've passed 3 heavenly disasters, I can bring you all to the outside world. He's not simple. If you can kill him, kill him. If you can't, don't waste time. Ascending to the outside world is more important. Once I become an immortal, I'll be able to shine in the outside world. In particular, I have to quickly find a few spiritual items in the outside world to regrow my left arm. What heretical crown prince? How many people in the Xinyuan Empire used that title to mock me? That despicable Xinyuan Empire. When I become stronger in the outside world, I'll definitely suppress all those immortals in the Xinyuan Empire. Then I'll go down and destroy the primordial god world. In front of a few experts of the Shui family, Prince Shui also hated Su Fang so much that he'd bared his teeth. But compared to the Xinyuan Empire, he hated the Xinyuan Empire even more. When the great Emperor Dipper asked Jing Suifeng to help me cleanse my marrow, he secretly planted a sealing energy. He thought I wouldn't sense it. Naturally, he wouldn't help me become stronger for free. He gave me strength in exchange for making them submit. Did he think that this little bit of sealing energy would be able to shackle me, Prince Shui? Didn't he think about how extraordinary the immortal legacy I received was? After a round of mocking, Prince Shui ordered his subordinates to quiet down. Not long after, a huge winged spirit beast flew out of the imperial city, pulling a palace behind it. This scene was truly spectacular. The one driving the Golden Palace was the current emperor of the Xinyuan Empire. Suddenly, a terrifying aura appeared in the depths of the imperial city. A black eagle, at least 300 meters in size, rose from the imperial city out of nowhere. Two ethereal cultivators sat cross-legged on the back of the giant eagle. Immortal! Monster immortal! An uproar broke out. Half of the sky was in an uproar. Countless cultivators were attracted by the giant eagle, because from the giant eagle's demonic light and aura, all of its aura was immortal. If its aura was a bit stronger, it could probably instantly crush the entire imperial city into rubble. Monster immortal, it was an invincible existence in this small world. How could the cultivators of a mortal world not be shocked? Not to mention the giant eagle attacking. Just a glance was enough to kill a large number of experts of the Xinyuan Empire. Monster immortals were immortals, far stronger than humans. Then who could control a monster immortal? There were two figures on its back. One of them had fused with the aura of the primordial god world, and the other was even more ethereal. But what they had in common was that their aura had a certain immortal aura. Immortals. Two immortals. They must be the lower realm immortals called Jing Suifeng and Immortal Master Lung Xin. Emperor Shun Yuan waved his hand and summoned a large number of experts with the aura of the Xinyuan Empire from the palace on the back of the spirit beast. They were the imperial family of the Xinyuan Empire and the cultivators of the Xinyuan Empire's origin. Emperor Xinyuan looked at the four princes and ordered, "Four great emperors, immediately take control of the primordial god world's world barrier according to the deployment. Also, create the origin of the formation so that many experts can condense their magic power. Once the war starts, the various armies will have the origin to use. We obey the emperor's decree." The four great emperors ordered their subordinates to slowly move in all directions. To be able to kill the northern emperor, this Su Feng is not simple. He must have a method to kill immortals. On the back of the giant eagle, the Xinyuan Empire's immortal, Jing Suifeng, was politely saying to the immortal next to him, "We can't be careless. That kid probably has some kind of power behind him, or he has the support of an immortal. Since he obtained the human emperor's inheritance, that secret must be in his hands." That immortal looked to be in his 40s. The treasures left behind by the Misty Taoist are a legend in the greater world. Furthermore, his Misty Taoist arts are rumored to be comparable to the Tao of emperors. This person must be killed. Since we came to the lower realms, we must obtain the things we must obtain. He thought that if he defeated us one by one, he would have an opportunity. Who knew that we still had a monster immortal? Jing Suifeng smiled and continued to wait for the countless experts of the Xinyuan Empire to gather. Chapter 839. Outside the primordial god world. Suddenly, a galactic storm appeared in the depths of the nebulous star field. It looked like a natural storm, but inside it was a planet that was gradually moving. Human Emperor World. The three big shots, and Li Haojia, were following thousands of big goblin as they moved the planet. They looked at the familiar starry river in front of them. At this moment, the Lord of Five Poisons looked like a statue carved by a knife. Su Feng is absorbing the essence of the primordial god world, secretly integrating the power of the world. What we need to do is to move the human emperor world from the left side of the primordial god world to the middle of the immortal primordial world and meet up with the 100,000 hidden troops there. Li Ziqing murmured, "I think the primordial god world will discover and control us before we meet up. It's impossible for such a planet to pass by the primordial god world silently. Once it's discovered, One of us must immediately lead people to fight. If the Xinyuan Empire separates us into two star fields, it will greatly affect our overall strength. The first battle, the sect leader suddenly looked at them. They think that I, the Lord of Five Poisons, am really dead. I want revenge. The destruction of the sect is not something that can be resolved with the fall of the Tao of Heaven. The Xinyuan Empire killed my believers. I want them to know what fear is in the first battle. The others saw how strong the sect leader was, but they couldn't change his mind. They could only acquiesce to his suggestion. The human emperor world gradually appeared in the nebula under Li Haojia's control of thousands of big goblin. It suddenly appeared from the empty star field on the right side of the primordial god world. It was still a distance away. The Lord of Five Poisons had returned to the barrier of the human emperor world. 30,000 people had gathered in the sky. Antyu had also brought over 1,000 survivors from the divine sect. The Five Venoms Order Master did not hesitate to hand over the Five Venoms Divine Ability Heart Sutra that he had mastered to the 30,000 experts. It was estimated. The Lord of Five Poisons wanted to show off in the first battle. He wanted the Xinyuan Empire to know how powerful the Five Poisons sect was. The mortal emperor world was gradually moving away from the primordial god world star system and away from that desolate star system. Looking at it with the naked eye, the primordial god world was like a moon, while the mortal emperor world was like a fist-sized meteorite shining with starlight. Primordial god world, there were still many troops gathered in the surroundings, ready to attack at any moment. A burst of supreme divine might was released in the air above the world barrier. Within this boundary, a large number of thrones floated. Emperor Xinyuan sat in front of the central golden palace. He was not just an emperor. At the same time, he was also the realm lord of Xinyuan Empire. It was the emperor, the realm lord. At this moment, a starlight vortex appeared in his eyes. Large amounts of starlight patterns were surging towards him like a spiral. Mortal Emperor World Aura. A slight ripple of starlight caused his eyes to suddenly become hale and hearty. Looking at the star domain to the side, it was impossible to see that far with the naked eye. The primordial god world was close to the infinite nebula. From time to time, some nebulas, storms, and other galactic remnants would appear in the nearby star fields. However, the Origin God Emperor seemed to be able to see through all of this and immediately issued an order. 5 old men with extremely high cultivations flew out of the Origin God world, shuttling towards the star field in front of them, their speed reaching the level of teleportation. They waited for a few days. A thought appeared in front of Emperor Xinyuan. Emperor, the mortal emperor world that has disappeared for many years is indeed ahead. It is moving towards the central star domain with thousands of big goblin migrating, and it is moving very quickly. Emperor Xinyuan's eyebrows immediately appeared. Is that so? Thousands of big goblin migrating too quickly. There are estimated to be 3,000 or 4,000 big goblin, and their strength is around the flying celestial realm. They released chains and merged with the mortal emperor world. They're all big goblin that have reached such a realm. Who has such ability? Even the Xinyuan Empire can't forcefully command the demon race and force so many big goblin to work for our empire, especially so many big goblin that have reached the flying celestial realm. That is unknown. The mortal emperor world has an army of 100,000 coming from the immortal primordial realm, and now the mortal emperor world has appeared again. Emperor Xinyuan pondered for a while. Soon, the wills of the 4 great emperors floated over. Once they learned that the mortal emperor world had appeared, the 4 great emperors were very shocked. One of the great emperors said, "Your Majesty, let this king send out the troops and take down the mortal emperor world first. Isn't it just a few thousand big goblin and a few experts? Although this is my plan to take down the mortal emperor world." Emperor Xinyuan waved his hand. "We are not the main force. We have chess pieces that we can use. Why not use them?" Chess pieces? The great Emperor Dipper couldn't understand at the moment. After Emperor Xinyuan smiled, he glanced behind him. The 4 great emperors almost simultaneously understood what chess pieces were. The great Emperor Dipper smiled lightly and said, "Your Majesty is a man of great talent and strategy. That Doichi has requested for us to send troops and cooperate with them to take back the immortal primordial realm and destroy the 100,000 troops controlled by the Sufang. Of course, we can't send troops rashly. However, the time has come. It is time to make use of Doichi and the cultivators recruited from the immortal primordial realm for our use. Big Dipper King, you will personally go and give the order to Master Limitless. You will also go with him to deal with the mortal Emperor world. This way, Master Limitless can be at ease. In the end, the immortal primordial realm's forces will help us take back the mortal Emperor world. With Master Limitless forces, taking back the mortal Emperor world shouldn't be a problem." All right. The great Emperor Dipper accepted the order and left. The wills of the other three great emperors dissipated. Emperor Xinyuan smiled coldly and said, "Let's take this opportunity to make Doichi completely lose his ability to fight. After that, we will annex the immortal primordial realm and take back the mortal Emperor world. Our empire will then have the territory of 3 lesser realms in this galaxy." In less than half a day, 2 formations appeared from the primordial god world's barrier. One of the formations had about 230,000 people, all of whom were releasing the aura of the immortal primordial realm. The other formation had about 100,000 people, all of whom were releasing the aura of the Xinyuan Empire. At the front of the 2 formations, the leader of Doichi, Master Limitless, and the Xinyuan Empire's great Emperor Dipper, 2 peerless figures, led close to 400,000 cultivators behind them. They kept increasing their speed and advanced towards the depths of the galaxy that didn't have any planets. With so many people in the 2 formations, they caused a wave of stars to appear as they traveled through the galaxy. There is indeed the aura of the mortal Emperor world. They have sent people to the galaxy to stop the mortal Emperor world's advance. A pair of eyes and a large number of floating motionless figures were hidden in the galaxy in front of the mortal Emperor world. This person was the Lord of 5 Poisons, whose name had shaken the region hundreds of thousands of years ago. Moreover, in the nebula below him, there was a huge army of puppets floating in silence. The puppet army wasn't made up of humans, but of the 5 Poisons. There were too many of them. There were probably tens of thousands of them. They didn't have any life, and they hid in the nebula. They didn't release any poison gas and were hibernating in the galaxy. Sister Yu was surrounded by ice particles. "Master, our sect's 5 Poisons formation is ready. Everyone can control it. The Xinyuan Empire seems to have hundreds of thousands of troops. If we launch a sneak attack, we can only use the 5 Poisons to deal with them. My good disciple, I created this 5 Poisons formation so that tens of thousands of experts can cooperate with me to unleash the 5 Poisons true body. I can use the 5 Poisons that I have refined for countless years to attack the Xinyuan Empire's army. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, the 5 Poisons formation was already a headache for the Xinyuan Empire." After the Lord of 5 Poisons finished speaking, he suddenly revealed a surprised smile. "Most of the troops are from the immortal primordial domain. The great Emperor Dipper has brought close to 100,000 troops. I understand now. The Xinyuan Empire wants to kill with a borrowed knife. This is great. The immortal primordial domain's cultivators don't know much about our sect. This time, we will focus on dealing with the immortal primordial domain's experts." Sister Yu received the order and left. After waiting for another half a year, hundreds of thousands of troops appeared in the galaxy below. It was Master Wuji and the great Emperor Dipper. As for the human Emperor world, it was approaching the immortal primordial domain from the galaxy in front of them. 5 Poisons true body, primordial avatar, true god space, poison region descends. At this moment, the army was passing under the tens of thousands of troops hidden in the galaxy above. Suddenly, the Lord of 5 Poisons' entire body transformed into countless 5 Poisons. It was as if the Lord of 5 Poisons had become blood goo, horned scorpion, white toad, silver snake, and spirit spider. The blood goo, horned scorpion, white toad, silver snake, and spirit spider seemed to be alive as they were released by the Lord of Five Poisons. A large number of mysterious webs entangled these monsters. The countless auras in the formation were also attracted by these monsters. Then, the blood-venomous insects, the horned scorpions, the white toads, the silver snakes, and the spirit spiders suddenly pounced on the hundreds of thousands of soldiers on the ground. They opened their mouths and breathed out horrible poisonous gas or peeled off poisonous patterns from their bodies. Soon, a vast wave of poisonous and twisted starlight was formed in this galaxy, covering the hundreds of thousands of soldiers on the ground. Looking from afar with the naked eye, one could see that the Milky Way had formed a twisted poisonous gas above the army. It's the five poisons of the Five Poisons Divine Sect. Impossible. Wasn't the Five Poisons Divine Sect wiped out? In an instant, the poison gas distorted the starry sky and was about to devour the army. Master Wuji and the Great Emperor Dipper had only just appeared. They probably had the advantage in numbers and did not take the human emperor world seriously. They did not expect such a shocking poison gas to appear at this time. Hundreds of thousands of cultivators exclaimed in shock. In an instant, barriers began to appear slowly from the edges and the center. They merged and connected one by one. However, there were so many cultivators, and they were in the Milky Way. The Great Array didn't merge in time above the hundreds of thousands of cultivators. The five poisons pressed down just like that. Just like the heavenly tribulation, the wind rose and the clouds surged. The formation and the poison were devouring and suppressing each other. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the Five Poisons Divine Sect was still under the support of tens of thousands of people. Their strength was not much different from that of an immortal. He shouted, "Five Poisons Puppet Army, kill!" Tens of thousands of hidden Five Poisons puppets rushed down the galaxy. They were more ferocious than hungry wolves pouncing on sheep. The Great Emperor Dipper and Master Wuji also launched their attacks. However, the Five Poisons poison began to spread in a large area in the starry sky. It shrouded this part of the galaxy like a cloud. Even if the poison was weakened a lot, it would still make the cultivators suffer. The attacks of formations and Dharma treasures barely rose into the sky and killed the Five Poisons puppet army. Many cultivators who were invaded by the Five Poisons poison were not controlled by the Doichi and the Xinyuan Empire's decrees. They began to struggle and flee in groups. Blood goo, horned scorpion, white toad, silver snake, spirit spider, go. The Lord of Five Poisons absorbed the power of the formation behind the tens of thousands of cultivators. Suddenly, he pressed down with both hands. Behind the puppet army, 5 tens of thousands of feet long blood goo, horned scorpion, white toad, silver snake, and spirit spider appeared in the galaxy. The army of puppets, as well as the various attacks that came from the opposite direction, collided and engulfed each other in the Milky Way. The galaxy instantly turned into an indescribable state of fried dough twist.